I'll have to get back to you on that tomorrow. I can't tell you right off the top of my head right now, Matt.
Okay, all right, well, that's
I
fine.
have to
Just,
look into it.
just let me know, please. I'll make a
Okay.
note. All right, thank you.
What number was that again?
85031.
85031. Transfer December. That was the last report for December?
Yeah, it's December
At the end of the
30th,
year, right?
2013, yeah.
Okay. Okay, back to correspondence.
Sorry.
Okay, I received one letter from Brandy Marola, chairman of the Tusten Energy Committee. Supervisor Rep Carol Rumpke-Winger, on behalf of the Tusten Energy Committee, I would like to express our appreciation for Tusten bookkeeper Karen Valenti. Karen has meticulously filed data for us from NYSEG on numerous occasions over the last 2 years, thus expediting our work. She is efficient, thorough, and always a pleasure to work with. Karen Valenti is an asset to this town, sincerely, Brandy Marola. And then I just received, this last minute, this evening, from Kathy Michelle. Dear Supervisor Rumpke-Winger and board members, it is very disheartening to be removed from a position in which I served the town for 9 years, especially with no cause or notice. 4 years ago at the organizational meeting, then Supervisor Margaret Harrison did the same thing to Charlie Whelan. At that time, many of us felt badly for him the way it was handled. Charlie was truly hurt and embarrassed by the action. Apparently, the board still prefers to use the slap-in-the-face approach instead of communicating with their appointees. Regarding the positions of town clerk, tax collector, and registrar, they are 3 entirely different positions requiring different skills, and only half of those towns in Sullivan County are the town clerk and tax collector jobs held by the same person. Those towns did so to create the equivalent of a full-time position for a person to make it easier to find someone to run for the offices. Registrar is also an entirely different position, often held by another person. In a small town, it is advantageous to the community to use experienced resources whenever possible and encourage participation in the government, especially when the service does not cost the town a single penny. This year, as I had announced, I had decided to give my entire registrar pay back to the town as a donation and given back to the people, also by not accepting my payment from them for certificates and genealogical searches. It was apparent the night of January 30th, as Ned initiated the discussion to remove me as registrar, that he does not want me involved with the town and the board, with the exception of Carol went along with it. That has been obvious ever since I had the audacity to run a primary against him a year ago. The same primary election where lies were fabricated about me to facilitate his securing a seat on the board. In spite of that, I still believe that the people of this town are good people, and I care very much for this town and will continue to work for its betterment through other avenues. So although I reconsidered donating that money to another charity, I remain true to my word and have donated $310 in fees collected as registrar this year to the town, along with about another $100 directly to its residents and relatives. Sincerely, Kathy Michelle. I also received a phone call. This isn't correspondence, but a phone call from Greg Stevenson. I just wanted it noted that he was very happy with the water and sewer department. Fast response, easy to work with, very professional. So it was like kudos to them. They came out and whatever storms we had. Greg Stevenson, the water and sewer department they had a problem with water and whatnot, so they had to come out. So
Who is he?
Greg Stevenson,
GNS
plumber, GNS.
was right up on your
Greg.
right.
Okay, great.
Greg,
Okay,
yeah.
And what did he do?
He gave me a call to let me know how fast they responded and whatnot and how good they were to work with.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
I just wanted it noted.
I didn't know Greg's last name, but
Yeah, okay, there you go. I was like, how did you know him? He talked to me all the time.
he's my neighbor.
Announcement, and I apologize if people can't hear me well. I've been really sick lately, so it's going to be difficult. Mary Beth Egan, MBSD Community Outreach Coordinator with New York University School of Medicine's Department of Environmental Medicine, has announced that they will be holding an open house on February 1st with a snow date of February 11th, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. So it'd be great if we could see everybody out on that date. They'll be doing some surveys in the future and whatnot that will be critical to their studies.
This was the group that,
The fracking issue.
yeah, that came to us
Yeah.
with NYU, okay.
Yeah,
What is that? I don't have that.
the NYU is on it's just an announcement.
Oh, I see, okay. I'm on the.
It's on the agenda. Emergency management meeting was set with John Condino, the consultant from Barton and Judas, Thursday, the 16th at 11 a.m. That's this Thursday. Just a public safety tip, due to our last storm this past weekend, which there were so many accidents throughout the county, so I just wanted to note, please be aware of the freezing road conditions, even if the air temperatures are above freezing. Frost in the roads make the temperatures colder than the air, oftentimes forming black ice with warmer air temperatures. Also be wary of low areas and valleys, since cold air tends to pool in such areas, and if temperatures are near freezing and fog is in the vicinity, heavy icing is possible. So careful on your way home tonight. Sun goes away, roads start freezing up again. Presentations, we're going to wait on.
Wes isn't here.
You wanna
Wes
wait on
isn't
that?
here
Yeah.
and Joyce isn't here, so
Oh.
uh, we're gonna wait on Jennifer's presentation for a little bit. Division reports, highway.
We used 663 gallons of gasoline this month, 119.2 is non-highway and 544.3 was highway. Used 1,337.1 gallons of diesel fuel, 132 gallons was non-highway, 1,205.1 was highway. Had 128.5 hours of overtime for the month of December. We've already bypassed that in January. As a result of ice and snowstorms. The guys used a lot of their comp time and vacation time up in December with Christmas and deer season and being the end of the year. Patched some potholes out on gravel and dirt roads, but all patching is very short term with the weather the way it is. Cleaned up some trees that came down on roads. We finished cutting some brush on Ackerman and Humphrey Road. Had some repair work. We had to put a clutch in our 1-ton Chevy and found the bell housing cracked, and the cross member was, and foreign fuel lines were rotted out on it, so that got pretty involved. We had a radiator on one of the big trucks decide to split out on us, where between the aluminum and the plastic, which is a pretty common thing for them to happen, but it's pretty expensive too. We had a fan blade break on one truck, so we had to replace that. That's a problem with those trucks too. We had 2 air tanks on one of the trucks rot out at the same time, so we had to replace both of them. And we had at least 5 hydraulic lines fail over the course of the month. The truck that I drive, which is just a pickup truck with a sander in the back, the little electric motor on the transfer case quit working. And basically we spent most of December plowing and sanding and then working on trucks.
Thank you, Glenn.
Glenn, a couple things, bud.
Yes, sir, let's go.
All right, listen, we had budgeted $1,067,720.70 for your,
I'm sorry, I can't.
that's okay. You can just go along with this if you
All
want.
right.
Basically, let me just get to the meat. You're about $100,000 in expenditures versus budget for 2013.
Mhm.
So now your new budget,
Mhm.
that I would assume that extra 100,000 then went into your reserves?
It should go.
Okay. And
But
you,
it's not, all the bills ain't turned in on that either,
Right.
because I do have a lot of salt that I ordered, because I was keeping my eye on my budget, and I had snow and ice removal money to use, so I was gonna use it up on salt, so I ordered a lot of salt. I mean, there's bills that
There's
this
some
month
bills in there, yeah, for Holman.
to use up, to try to use them that month, because I'm gonna have to buy sand this coming month, so I'm trying to juggle things around, so everything balances out nice.
well, that's, I mean, kudos to you that you're $100,000 in the budget, a little bit over that, but now you're in 2014, so
Mhm.
how can you pay, does that money, maybe this is a question to you,
When the
Carol.
bills are accrued in December, then the accounts take care of that before they do the final audit. They'll make all those changes.
Okay, so they'll charge them against
Yeah.
2013.
Right.
Do you think you have $100,000 in bills for December for them?
No.
Okay.
But we also, according to the union contract, the guys all got a raise this coming year. And with the overtime and stuff like that, so even anything, we had to readjust some of those numbers in the new budget to compensate for the salary increases.
Do we have those? Do we have copies of those new numbers? The
Well,
board?
sure, they're in the budget, they're in the budget.
Okay, so you already
got
have done
passed.
that. You've already
Yeah,
done that.
that's all
Yeah,
done,
it's all
taken
in
care
our
of and approved, you guys approved it.
Yeah,
Okay, okay, so basically our cash reserves grew in the highway department this year.
yes,
Yeah, I'm gonna ask to cash in on that though, at this meeting,
yeah.
Okay,
I got something coming up.
okay, okay, thank you.
Do we wanna go ahead and do that now?
Might as well.
Maybe if you want, in case I have to run out later because the
Yeah,
roads
let's
start
jump for that,
freezing.
'cause Dom's not here yet either.
What I'm gonna ask the town board about is I got enough here for everybody, since I don't have the computer and know how to, scan this stuff and send it to you. We need a 1-ton truck. The 1-ton truck we have now is the one that actually the water and sewer department had at one time. And it's a light duty truck, and it's really getting all rotted out underneath of it. The torsion bars in the front are shot, you can't even put a snowplow on it anymore. The box, we had to replate the box, but the truck is getting shot. Now,
Sure.
I checked around a little bit because at one of the meetings there, the superintendent's meeting, Rob Green was there. Now, this price here is a piggyback off of Town of Thompson. Town of Thompson put a truck out for bid. They put out for a Dodge 4500. This is for a Dodge 3500. You can see the difference, the price adjustment onto it. They actually knock off over $3,000 because it's only a 3500. Also on the snow plow, it's a Boss 10-foot V-plow, which is too big for that truck. And the 9.9 foot 2 inch is what we use now. All the other stuff on here is by the OGS bid, New York State bid. And this can be approved the way it is by the town board to accept it, and we can get this truck. Or if you guys would rather, we still want to stick it out on bid, or however you guys want to handle it. I know nothing about buying trucks. I haven't bought nothing since I've been up there. But I know you can piggyback off Thompson, and that is a Thompson bid. They basically did all the legwork for us already. But New York State, because the OGS is so far behind on all their stuff, the House and the Senate did pass a bill saying that whenever a municipality or even the New York State Thruway has a bid in, that we can piggyback off of them.
Right.
Glenn, didn't you just buy a truck a couple meetings ago from, I think Carol's husband, ex-husband?
Right, but that was a single axle, bigger truck, same size as like Donnie drives, the one Donnie drives.
Right?
This is for a 1-ton, which we use the 1-tons more because we use them for patching. You know, because you can put grader patch onto them and go to your pothole. Guys can stand on the back and rake it off. The other trucks are so high. And we actually use the 1-ton trucks more than we use the big trucks. Except when we get busy snow year like this, and this time of the year we're using the big trucks. Probably, well, almost as much. Not, we wouldn't be.
Would it hurt to go out to bid if you save a few $1,000s? You save a few $1,000s. There's no harm in that.
If you think we can beat the bid,
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
this is like going like by a New York State bid price. I mean, you know, it can go both ways because Bob Green may put a bid together and it may be a higher bid than this, and he may not get no other bids.
Have you spoken to Dominic? I know he needs a truck too.
And I also showed Dominic today how to go on a New York State OGS website and look at the bid prices because the trucks he's looking for, they got on there too.
47,710's our final number on that?
No, 68.
Yeah, 68 on the
Yeah.
way.
What's the 47,710 for?
Okay,
That's just the cab and the chassis
okay.
and the snowplow.
50.
The box is extra.
The box, you got the dump box and you got a stainless steel sander going on it.
58. Put that so we use it.
So it's the first page plus the second page.
No, this is Thompson's bid right here. This is the bid that got accepted on the town of Thompson.
Okay, oh,
That's all this is. If you look at the top, it says prepared for town of Thompson,
Yeah,
and it goes down to give 4,500, which, like I said, we would be getting a 3,500, but they do knock off $3,000 because it's the next series down.
But I'll tell you, I've never had a bad experience going out to bid. I've demanded after, we have a certain protocol in my company, over a certain amount, we go out and get 3 prices, and that can't hurt you.
Okay, well, if you want us to put it out on bid, then I'm gonna have to get together with our highway committee, because I don't know how to write up a bid, and put out for bid. I've never done it before.
does that jeopardize this price at all? Is this a
Well, I'm
certain
sure this
time?
price, once we put this out on bid, you can kiss this price goodbye.
Yeah.
Because why would he do that?
I mean,
He's already given everybody a heads up on what
He'll,
his
he'll have
price
to
is.
go lower, and he
Yeah.
knows that.
yeah,
yeah.
So it's not a bad thing.
yeah. So, but that's, I agree, I don't think there's any problem going out to bid. I think it's a smart thing to do,
Yes.
so. because you can always go back to state bid. If you can't get a bid that's lower, you can always go back to state or
State bid,
village
go
bid.
for that.
If you don't want to honor it, you can go
So-
somewhere else and honor it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not the
Yeah.
only one.
Uh,
Okay.
So,
Monday, what expect?
Monday? Okay.
Is this like a pickup truck or it's bigger?
Yeah, it's like a pickup truck with a dump box on
Park
it.
things as we used to have in parks.
and there's no emergency on this, right?
No.
There's no
Not really.
emergency. Okay.
The only thing is, right now, like, we're down on trucks. I mean, right now, all the trucks are in good shape, but when a truck goes down, we don't have a spare one for somebody to take over. But we've got by so far.
So, make a motion to authorize the highway superintendent to go out to bid with,
A 1-ton dump with stainless sander and V-plow for the front of it. The only reason we need a V-plow is because of parking lots on Main Street.
And a stainless box, right, a stainless dump?
They're $4,000 more for a stainless dump box, and I really don't know if it's worth paying the extra $4,000.
You just get regular metal?
Yeah, just get a mild steel box.
That's, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I think I'd go with stainless steel.
or aluminum, Glenn.
Or aluminum, yeah. one
Glenn's,
or two.
aluminum's not that much more expensive.
I don't, no, I'm not a big fan of aluminum boxes. They crack, break.
I've had one for,
Stainless steel, I think is worth the money in the long run. I really
yeah,
do.
Glenn, I don't think you can go wrong with that. The maintenance on steel with that salt and stuff like that is gonna be a pain in the butt.
The only thing I can say about steel is I got a good guy up there and down the roadway. Bob Green told me, he said on the Dodges, he says the powertrains go forever. He says the rest of the truck will rot out before. He says if you go with a Chevy, it's the other way around because you got the Duramax and the Allison, where they got the Cummins and the Allison. And I don't know, I mean, for how much time you think when you really get out of a truck up there anyway? Because those trucks see a lot more abuse than a normal truck does. Plus they're out in all the salt all the time.
You're not talking a lot of miles though, you're just talking about durability. And so, you know, you're gonna have it for 8-10 years probably.
But stainless steel and spend the money.
I think you're better off.
I do too.
Money ahead. And that's what I use, aluminum. I've never had a problem with salt and aluminum, but I'm not sanding roads every day either.
Oh, yeah, I've seen problems with aluminum. On fuel tanks and stuff like that, aluminum fuel tanks, I have seen problems.
It's good to me.
I mean, Ford's just made that transition all aluminum on the F-150s.
All the county trucks are all steel, stainless steel, all their
Stainless
beds,
Yeah.
you know, just long.
okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Can I have a second?
I'll second them.
Nora? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? And back to, welcome, Kenny. We'll do one circle here. Building, Gary?
For the month of December, we did 17 construction inspections, 1 complaint-related inspection, issued 1 certificate of occupancy, 4 certificates of compliance, issued 11 building permits, including 3 for new homes, 2 driveway permits, 3 electrical permits, 1 permit renewal, 2 roof replacement permits, and 2 municipal searches were conducted. The money we collected was $2,840.10. That's it.
Any questions for Gary? Thank you, Gary. Assessor, Ken?
Well, late December had the star registration through the state date of December 31st, looming in people's spaces. And I've got a lot of increased enhanced star applications now that came in through us. When they called into the state, they said you need to go in and do enhanced. People turned 65, didn't do it, so maybe we'll have a 20% increase in enhanced. State picks that up, so not a bad thing. They'll be paying less money out of pocket. Balance of this month I'll be using to process the exemptions and prepare to do property inspections for the construction that's been completed in the past 12 months. March 1st is my magic date when everything's valued. And that's it.
Ken, will we have to go through that reassessment again this year, that equalization issue with that
No,
fellow from the state?
no, some other town will be blessed with that. We should go back with our group and get whatever increase the 4 or 5 towns in the group together get normally done, and that's what's happened over a few years. That's why we were up as high as we were. So, no, we will not have that.
How can we
again.
prevent that?
I don't know.
Real estate's not.
I
doing
have
it.
no way of knowing that. If we had more sales so that the sales could be used, then they wouldn't come and do appraisals. But we don't have more sales, so until we get them, I don't know if there's a
The
way to
property
prevent
is
them.
selling now.
Yeah. We haven't had very many yet, but hopefully they'll come through this spring.
How
I'm gonna have
often
a
does it
conversation.
happen?
Every year the rate is adjusted. And because there were so few sales in this whole market area, we've been grouped with several towns along the river, Calhoun, Coshocton, Fremont, Delaware, the ones that kind of have the same geographic location. And they do the whole group as one rate increase, so we've been having that increase. And then,
Ken, let me just jump in, because I talked to Gary Moss 2 days ago about the same issue. And their taxes actually went down 1.5%.
yeah, because we picked it up.
I know, but if we're in a group, how does that work?
We were taken out of the group for the last year because their philosophy, and it goes around in a circle, you don't have enough sales, so you put in the group, and then we didn't have enough sales, so we were taken out of the group and done appraisals, so,
And they do that on their own accord,
yeah.
without any oversight?
Well, oversight, I guess, comes from Department of Taxation, they're the ones that determine when they're gonna do it,
Office of Real Property.
yeah.
But out of
Which
their
is
state,
now
not out of
Department
Suffolk.
Yeah.
Taxation.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we sure didn't want it.
No, I know.
No,
Yeah, because they did real well. Coshocton did real well.
yeah,
Maybe next year will be their turn.
I don't know, yeah.
I don't know, maybe they have enough sales that they can do something with the sales if we don't, I don't know that either.
Okay. I have some, if you're still here at the end of the meeting, I have some paperwork for you, so. Thank you, Ken. And Dominic.
6301 State Route 97 had a leak in the water line close to the foundation, so a contractor dug it up, replaced it. Everything's fixed. Nursburg Home called and said they had no water in the back half of their building. They have 2 separate meters and 2 separate pumps. One pump runs the front half, then the other pump runs the office and the back half of the building. So when I checked, I found the pressure switch was bad. I manually hit it. It works fine. So they replaced the switch and everything's fine there. 48 Kirks Road, right over here. The house had lost heat, froze up. I talked to Carol about it. They went about, the meter read about 100,000 gallons went through on the sprinkler system. I contacted the owner. They're aware of the problem. They took care of it. The water's still shut off over the house. We changed the lights at the sewer plant from the fluorescent ones to the LEDs, because 2 of the units were bad. We only have 3 units. So I talked to JNS Electric, he says if you're gonna do it, you might as well go LED, it's the way to go anymore. It's a little bit more money, but it saves a lot of money in the long run, and the bulbs last incredibly long. We finished cleaning off bed 3, received a call from 6357 State Route 97, about a leak at the meter base. When we were in the basement, we found a whole bunch of leaks. So we replaced the meter base and we advised them that they're gonna have to do something about those leaks. They fixed them, they called us back, we went and inspected, everything was good there. We removed the meter at 6536 on 97. We were pretty busy on 97 this past month. We found that the curb stand was bent over, bent at a 90 degree because a town plow had hit it. Not a town plow, I'm sorry. County plow had hit it. So we fixed it, we lowered it, and we put a casing around it to prevent it from happening again. We cleaned the strainer at well 1. We installed a snow deflector on the plow. We recorded the septic tank inspections into the log books. We inspected the grinder stations on Main Street. We shoveled all the wells and plowed because we had a couple snowstorms, and along with that, we cleaned up the town hall and the deck and salted in. And we installed Christmas lights.
Good.
Good job.
Thank you. Any questions for Dominic? I think before you got here also, I mentioned that GNS had called and gave you kudos for a good job.
Thank you,
So,
thank you.
So I appreciate that. UDC. Susan, how are you?
Okay, Sean's retirement from the Park Service, John McGinnis, was a large part of the meeting. There is a section of the Facilities Resource Management minutes that describe what he thinks are the important things that his successor should deal with. And I think that's important for us to keep track of, all of those things. And they are project review of the waterfront revitalization, potential benefits of a federal water trail, working on cultural resources. Someone will come from NPS to talk about that more, and they will be hooked up with Fort Delaware, because that's a big cultural resource, and completing oral history, and also having a discussion of cell towers valley-wide, the valley-wide discussion of that. So coming to that item, there's gonna be a meeting this Friday at 1 o'clock, held by Verizon. And Verizon is basically making offer that, they are offering to be the sponsor of a discussion.
Okay.
But there's consequences to that, so it's a long involved deal, and I'm thinking, instead of wasting your time with that right now, is to go to the meeting at 1 o'clock, see what happens. But, I think it is important to consider it valley-wide, even though it isn't in our town, which it actually is gonna be in our town, because there's gonna be one on the Covens Road.
Right.
And so the idea is that there's mitigation. It's not either or. It's not no cell tower, cell tower. There's mitigation here, and it will affect everybody. And if you're talking about tourism, it's going to affect them. You don't have a wilderness experience exactly. So, what else?
Did you say it's this Friday?
This Friday at 1 o'clock at UDC. Yes. I know. Yeah.
Can it be taped?
Could it be? That's a very good point, Jane. That's an excellent idea. That's an excellent idea, because I think it's really, okay, I'll find out. And I'm curious to know about the secret review meeting on January 15th, because Travis presented there, and I was not able to go, so I think that's something we should always follow up on. And there's something which affects Pennsylvania, and I don't think I'm gonna bother with that right now. So that's
Okay,
it.
thank you, Susan. Beautification. Pardon? Wanda.
Yeah.
Thank you, Wanda.
Narrowsburg Beautification Group has met to discuss the future the grant application and the Golden Feather Award. We are likely to apply for the maintenance grant this year, leaving the opportunity for the town or Ed Jackson to apply for the Category A beautification grant for installing the 9/11 monument, and for other entities to apply for many grants. We are currently waiting financial information on regards for working on the parking lot behind the Bank of America, as well as solar panels for the town. Once these numbers come in, we will decide on where the Golden Feather Award money will be spent. We also set the date for our annual plant swap bake sale, which will be May 31st.
Thank you very much.
That's it. Yep.
And then this one.
Okay. Let's see. LDC, I guess we're going to, you've had no action. LDC? Andrea? No report, okay. And Energy Committee, Randy, you're up.
First, we have an announcement. You know, the NYU event, the open house, I just had a few more details to add to
Okay,
that.
please,
They'll have an open house at the town hall here with NYU Institute of Environmental Community and Engagement on Saturday the 1st from 11 to 6, and the snow date is the following week. But they're gonna offer $2 bills to get people involved. So what they're doing is they're inviting the public to stop by the town hall to fill out, it's less than 5 minutes, an anonymous survey to help them better understand the community's varying views of fracking. This is a nonpartisan group, neither pro-fracking nor anti-fracking. The survey's open to area residents of New York and Pennsylvania. They give them that $2 bill to take the survey, one survey per household. They've selected our town because drilling has been proposed in the area but not yet done here. Then the second part is they have a list, a sign-up list that day, for anybody, any Tusten resident to sign up for a free baseline testing for your water, and that would be performed in the warmer months this year. They're certified, they collect water samples at an outdoor water source like a well or a spigot. The homeowner present, they don't need access to your house. And then a report will be sent to the homeowner of each tested well. No municipal water tested, only wells that are untreated and not using any softeners. And then they're gonna put ads and flyers in the paper, so I just wanted to tell you about that. One other thing, you'd asked me to look into the bridge lights,
Yeah.
and so, Rick Maloney's talked to NYSEG. Nobody has the key to that box that's
Exactly,
over there.
we've been going crazy trying to find
I
out.
think PennDOT has it, or, the Bridge Authority, but he's tried, and that's the dead end for me.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Now, do you want us to talk about the solar now, or is it discussion for later, right?
That was discussion about the
Discussion
board.
for later.
No, you should basically give a presentation on
Okay,
what
all right,
happened.
so we'll do that, all right.
Now, or,
Brandy should, I mean, as far as
no, I
what,
know, but now, or what later when we enter discussion on it?
her presentation?
Yeah.
No, I think she should have a presentation now, and then
Okay.
we'll discuss it among the board when it comes up for
If you're
members.
willing, so.
And start helping. Okay, this is the Tusten Energy Committee status report as of today. The Tusten Energy Committee's gotten a lot done this year already, because the beautification committee had decided to possibly give us that $25,000 for the Golden Feather Award money. We decided to look into, solar energy options for the town buildings. So we've really done a lot of research lately. We contacted 3 solar company representatives to try to understand the options for this project. And our goal is to produce enough of solar energy for the town hall, the town barn, the water and sewer department, and possibly the streetlights. Panels would be approximately 3 by 5 feet each. The panels would generate the solar energy for the town barn first if we had it at that location, and, because that's the primary location. And then for the rest of the energy is stored and harnessed for other town-owned buildings and facilities. We'd be on the grid as energy producers and users. And they use something called a remote net meter, which allows the solar customer producer to apply excess generated credits from our host account at the town barn to other meters in our other municipal buildings via satellite. We're waiting at the moment to hear from NYSEG. It's really about, if they wanna do this, then we could go ahead. If they don't, we don't do any of this. So there's a lot of research here, but I just want you to know that that's really where it all kinda is in the balance. So they may also say they don't wanna cover streetlights, because we don't have meters at every street pole. And they don't know how to, we just pay a flat rate.
Right,
So there's a lot of details with this, but we're just trying to get this out there. Anyway, if you produce more energy than you need, with this system, it becomes converted into money in our account. Solar energy is produced in the region mostly between early April through late October. Snow removal is not necessary. The panels have ambient heat, and they're silent. I'm assured the panels are very durable and easy to maintain. We're currently awaiting NYSEG's approval. Okay, so if NYSEG does approve, we can go 2 different ways with the solar panel system for the town. One, the town can purchase a solar panel system, or 2, the town could lease a system with a PPA, which is a power purchase agreement, with a company that owns and operates the solar panels, installing on our town property up behind the barn. And the following is a breakdown of the pros and cons of each plan. Star?
Well, when we were talking to the representatives that deal with this type of facility, they came up basically with 2 major types of the solar panel arrays that are being used now. The first one is a town-owned and operated system. That would be, the town would pay all the upfront costs to set this up, and then they would be responsible for running it and maintaining it. The pros of that situation is that the town would earn these, we call them reusable energy credits, that you could sell to other entities and bring income into the town to help lower the overall energy costs, and also lower taxpayers' taxes. Money sources other than NYSERDA, which is the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, which is the main body that usually gives out these grants and incentives to pay for some of these things. You could also, with this system, if the town owned it, you could go for other sources of revenue to pay for the construction. The cons in a town-owned and operated system are the upfront costs are very, very steep. We had some sort of ballpark figures of it could be up to like $600,000, gulp. And only a minor amount of that initial startup cost would be offset by the NYSERDA and other grants that you could possibly garner. The other problem with the town-owned is that the town would be responsible for the operation and the maintenance of the system, and that would especially include if you had breakage or if you had some kind of breakdown in the system, it would be our responsibility to fix it. The other problem is money from the sale of the reusable energy credits could be held up for as much as 3 years from the initial start of the project, so you wouldn't really realize that kind of offset right up at the beginning when you're putting out the heaviest outlay. There is some considerable money to be made once you can start selling these credits, but there's a long wait, and that's a lot of money to make up by doing this piecemeal and selling later on. The other way to go, which is somewhat leaned towards as a less expensive way to get immediate action on your project, it's called a power purchase agreement contract. And what basically happens is the town would put out bids for contractors to come in and build and operate a solar energy array. There would be no upfront costs to the town, taxpayers. Usually these companies have their own facilities to go out after the NYSERDA grants and any other money that's available. They also are responsible for maintaining this entire system. And the way it works is that they contract with the town to sell the electricity that they produce on their system back to the town at a lower rate than what you might be paying for the NYSEG electric. All of that reduced rate electricity can be taken off of the NYSEG bill and overall lower the town's energy costs. They also, at the same time, by going with this clean energy, you would lower the town's carbon footprint, which would be in keeping with the town's clean energy and climate smart pledge. So that's a plus there, which would also possibly make us eligible for other grants and things. Let's see. Since there are no startup costs, awards like the Golden Feather could be put towards other town energy saving projects, so that would be a plus there. And with the approval of the provider, the power credits that were earned could be, as Brandy was mentioning, be applied to other buildings in the town to lower the energy costs for those different buildings. But that is contingent on the main provider, who would still remain NYSEG, saying that they would allow that to be done, so we have to check that out. Typical leases for this type of system would be for between 10 and 20 years. The recommendation is you go for the longer lease, and that keeps you kind of on an even keel for the regular earnings. The cons for this system: there are no reusable energy credits to sell. That goes to the company that's operating and maintaining the system. And the savings come through the use of the reduced energy costs for the whole town, and they start right away. The owner of the system gets the tax credits and not the ones who are leasing the property out. There is a small additional money that might come to the town by leasing the property to the company where they're going to establish the...
Right, much like the cell tower.
Exactly. Okay. The other thing about the leasing program or the power purchase agreements, you have to be very, very, very careful when you're vetting the contractors you're going to be using to make sure that they're reputable and that they have a track record of producing and not just, fly by night and you're stuck with this facility. And you have to have someone that knows how to write very specific language for the RFPs and the contract that will be generated from that. It's essential to ensure a successful and mutually satisfactory agreement for the project. So those are the two basic options for the board to consider.
Then, so separate from the solar project, we learned that NYSERDA funds are also available to defray the cost of building a new dog kennel. So as long as the building meets New York State green construction standards, there are additional funds for incorporating clean energy measures such as solar, thermal, and electric for the kennel, and Norm had asked us to look into that. So that's a separate thing, they don't wanna lump this in because you get a lot of money for new construction apparently, for kennels, for towns, so I'm looking into that. Our goal, as a climate smart community, just to remind everybody, is to lower the energy usage in the town buildings, reducing the carbon footprint of the town, and to lower the energy costs for the town. But we need time for proper analysis and assessment, and we're on our way, but it's a sizable project and we wanna be fiscally conservative. We don't wanna rush in, but we're working very hard as volunteers every single day. Anyway, the next step is for the board to decide which option they wanna pursue, and then issuing a request for proposals with specific language to ensure the optimal agreement is secured for these projects. Quotes will have to be apple-to-apple comparative bids in order to make sense, so it's hard to we're just feeling it out, what size solar system we need. It's not gonna be enough to just be on the roof at the town barn, or that's a really good angle. They need a bigger space. I've gotten estimates everywhere from a 1/4 acre to 3 acres. So it's like, there's so many variables, I just wanna back into it properly, and so that's where we're at with that. Yes.
Thank you both very much.
Yeah, good job. I have a question. Have you done a survey as to how much, can I just look through the P&L real quickly while you guys are making your presentation? How much does the town spend in, between street lighting, I see we spent $2,200 last year, $22,1079, as of the end of December, but how much did the town spend in energy for here, the town barn, and the street lighting we know?
It's about 40,000, 41,000.
And the recoup on that money, let's say, I mean, to spend $600,000 is a lot of money, of course. And if you amortize that at even 5% interest, that's $30,000 a year. You'd almost be spending as much in interest on that as you would, the amount of money we're spending on electric. So, does the town really even have an option which way to go? Because to lay out $600,000 would be outrageous. And so if we did pursue the other option and put the solar on the building here and the building at the town building, how much of that cost would we recoup? Do you have any idea?
Well, first, let me clarify that this building is not optimal. It's really, there's so many reasons, and it's not a big roof, it's pitched wrong, it's not angled right. The best option is over there on lands where they can actually, aim it exactly where they want it.
On where, I'm sorry?
On the lands, any kind of town lands behind the town barn. They've looked at the town barn roof, and that's not big enough, so, we're just backing into what this, where this goes. If we did purchase it, it would be about $500,000-600,000 minus $180,000 NYSERDA would give us, minus the $25,000 if beautification decided to give us that. It's still a huge expense, and there's other options to look for other monies. We'd have to look into that, but it's a big difference. We don't get the tax write-off if you lease it. They do. People lease it to us, so there's just a lot of consideration.
I think his question also was that, when we had that meeting the other day, when I said, Bill, for 2011, the town spent $41,000, rounded off to $41,000 we spent in electricity. And if there was a lease arrangement, there would be no upfront cost for the town, and then the question came up, well, how much is the town gonna save from that $41,000? And I think it was about 30%. 30 to 35% off what we are currently spending.
So $12,000 a year.
No, it could be between
Minimum
12
30,
to 20,000.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
first year.
And that's without the startup costs for, that $600,000.
Right.
Right, there is no startup cost.
Right,
No
right,
startup
right.
costs, you start recouping this,
Right,
waiting
now,
to get
now
paid.
the only hitch, okay, in this, from what I got, was that because it would be on the ground, it would be 2 miles out of town, that basically they would have to check with NYSEG. Now, NYSEG has a substation
Right.
about, in spitting distance from where this facility would be. And then whatever the technical, things that NYSEG has to do, they have to give us the green light, because they have to channel that energy from the substation down 2
Down to-
miles down to town.
Right.
And
Yeah.
right now, that's what you guys are waiting
Yeah.
for, correct?
Right.
Well, doesn't that just, excuse me, doesn't that just go back on the grid? Why would they have to do all that?
They have they have to be within 2 miles of the buildings, and we're.
To hit all our
We're
meters.
on the edge, we're like 2.2 miles, I don't know how
Well,
willing
what
my
about-
Sherman wants to stretch that.
We have 18 meters.
But
Brandy, what about the water and sewer fields?
Okay, well, they would be included too.
No, you're,
Oh, how
She
far
wants
that
to
is
build
from
on our
it?
land.
yeah, I'm saying, yeah.
Oh, to put it
Now
down.
that I've seen it, there's a.
You just want me to sign it
We
over
didn't-
you?
I think we didn't go there initially, I don't think that's even brought up, because that they may be in need of the other side to expand sewer beds eventually.
Yes, there's.
So
you gotta have
if
some-
there's
No, I'm
not gonna
not
be-
talking sewer
The
beds, I'm
field's the
actually.
landfill.
No, I think she's talking about well, 3 and well 2, we have.
on the other side.
Oh, in
I
between,
am-
right
Over
up
on the
here.
flats, well, up on 3, we have
How much
the
land
well
do we
houses
have
in the
there?
center, then how much land?
Yeah,
It's nice,
About
it's
4
a,
acres.
it's,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's about that
it's a
much
couple,
water, yeah.
have you looked
that
at?
could be an option
I mean,
too.
if there's another option,
Is
we'd
that all
love to
clear?
hear it, but we just knew about
Yeah,
this.
hopefully that was
And just by
Beacon's
the way,
Field.
the people who will install it, they, as a lease, they would put a fence around it 6 to 8 feet, metal locked fence.
We already have one there.
I
We
ju-
already
That might be
have
an
one.
I'm
option
just-
up there.
I'm just not sure how much daylight it really gets. Cause I'm sorry, now, up at well 3, there's tall pine trees
Right,
that aren't ours.
okay.
Yeah, and that
So-
would be a problem.
We
They
have an
definitely
issue
said that would be a
now
problem.
with our driveway, that we really don't get enough sun, so it kinda ices up.
Right.
So I'm not sure that we would get enough sun this
Right,
fall.
yeah. Okay. But it's another option for the
Yeah.
companies to look at. Iris?
2 questions. Is it totally unfeasible to have 2 sets of panels instead of looking for one large area? Because if it's a little bit closer in the proximity of under the 2 miles, it might be wise, if it's feasible, to have 2 areas for the panels. That was just one thought. The other thing is, after the lease is up, let's say it's a 20-year lease, is there an option to purchase the panels and then be able to get some kind of off-the-grid kind of, be able to have the monies that would be over the use, anything over what we would use for the town to be able to sell?
I think they said there
It
were
depends
3
on-
options there. The town could take it over, buy it or whatever, but then you'd be responsible for maintenance, and at that point, you'd have a quote-unquote aging system, so I don't know
Right.
how
They
desirable
only
that would
last
be.
about
Yeah,
25
The
years.
town can take it
That was
and,
another-
and
Right.
just raise it, get rid of it. And I can't remember the third thing, but there was a third, renegotiate the lease
Right.
with the company that's providing the power at that time, if it's still.
So it's all depends on the way we rate the lease.
And in terms of 2 sites, I think they wanna have a primary site, they haven't mentioned to us that we can, but I'll look into it.
One of the things they said about the 2 sites was that it was undesirable because it doubled your cost of the initial startup and installation. So they try to get as the optimal size in one place, throw it in and start it working, rather than have to maintain and set up and keep going 2 sites like that. But the bottom line for this whole thing is, we can't really give you, which is what we found out, we can't give you the figures that you're asking about and the things that until the board makes a decision which kind of program they wanna go with. Because there's 2 different costings, there's 2 different returns, and it just gets really confusing. So as soon as that you guys can make up your minds which one you wanna go with, then we can start digging with people that know what they're talking about. Well, this is the project we want, what kind of savings can we realize, how much is gonna be the upfront costs, and, what can we expect on reduction in bills?
You know, I don't understand the 2 mile issue, because when you know, like the Florida Power and Light bought the wind energy project out in Waymart, and they bought it for the carbon credits, okay? But even though they own that power is being fed into a grid in Pennsylvania, and they're getting the credit, you know, and the money for that, and it's being used locally. So why couldn't you just feed that power into the grid with a meter?
What we were told was, this is NYSEG's option. They set up the rules, they decide what they want to allow or not, and apparently they have set up that if you go beyond the 2 mile limit considerably, it's something about you lose too much power in the transfer or something that they don't wanna have to pick up. I'm not sure what it is exactly, but this is not something that we can deal with or
Regulate.
negotiate with. This is NYSEG, who is our primary provider, and they're saying, outside of the 2 mile limit, we don't do remote metering.
But we haven't turned it down yet, we have to call in, they're
Yeah, we have to
discussing
check
it,
that out.
and we also have to figure out, sorry, Tom, one sec. We just have to figure out if the street lights are part of that, it's a major thing. I mean,
Right.
I would love them to be, but
Yes.
I'm not sure. And that changes the size of this whole scale of this whole
Project, right.
thing.
Now, if-
Streetlights are pretty cheap.
If this board gets to the point of an RFP, I see that Stephen Stewart, who basically is works for the county for sustainable energy, would Stephen be able to assist the town, okay, with that RFP? Because from what my understanding is, it has to be spot on, it has to be, everything's got to be dotted.
Very
And is
specific.
it possible for your office to assist then?
The county office wouldn't, but the Sullivan Alliance for Sustainable Development would assist. We have some templates for RFPs for power purchase agreements that have been used throughout New York State.
Because what I came away from that meeting was that everything has to be dotted and, you know, and I just need technical assistance. We need technical assistance, and since the county now has technical assistance, that's what I'm asking, that you be able to give us some consultation.
We could provide consultation for that. And you're right, the RFP does need to be extremely specific. And that's how you get
Great.
your apples to apples comparison.
And just so you know, the NYSERDA money is there for a purchase or a lease. They give it to you if you purchase, they give it to this lease person if, you know, if they get it. So that lowers your costs.
But the upfront cost
Right,
for
the
the
upfront.
purchase and do-it-yourself is really astronomical.
Yeah.
It's almost unfeasible.
Is there any history of NYSERDA saying no to people?
NYSEG,
NYSEG, Brennan, yeah.
they have, nobody in Sullivan County, not one town has approached them about this. We're the first solar
Yeah,
town.
we'll be the first
We
solar
did.
project.
The only solar project of this type that is under consideration in Sullivan County right now is SUNY Sullivan. SUNY Sullivan is entering a power purchase agreement with a company to build, I do believe it's a 3 megawatt system on the campus. And that is all of that power will stay right on the campus, so there isn't the issue of how do you remotely not meter it, because it's all going to SUNY Sullivan. But Tusten would be the first county or township to even consider a system like this.
Well, I do a lot of work. Yes, they have. We're very hard at work. Appreciate that. Okay, so I have this listed in our new business for a discussion item later, so we'll continue with this later. At this point, I guess,
Let's go with Wes.
pardon? With Wes?
And get him out of here.
Please wait. Okay. Wes Silly, please, our engineer, for the report on our town hall building.
You guys all had a copy of the report?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep, we looked at it last month.
Did you have any questions about the report? Is it pretty straightforward? Is there, I guess I'd like to start, if you have questions, we can talk about specific issues of the report.
How about
or
the
concerns.
bricks on the outside of the building? I think isn't that the biggest cost?
Well, okay, I think the best way to do it, you can spend a lot of money hiring engineers and architects to get you all kinds of bids and crap. I think the most cost-effective and direct solution to that is, let's get a couple contractors that the board is comfortable with to come out and look at it. and give us some feedback to, you know, what do they think? And I can be involved with that, and we can get a dialogue going. They've got the experience in the area with masonry, and they can tell you what works, what doesn't work. If you wanna pay them a little bit of money, pay them a little bit of money or whatever, but they're gonna be a lot cheaper than an engineer, and they're gonna give you a lot of real-world, practical information that engineers and architects, quite frankly, just won't have.
How do you know
And
which
so-
bricks, how do you know which bricks to fix and which ones not to fix?
Well,
You have to
from
do
what
a
I saw,
complete?
well, from what I saw, there was very few areas that needed some, basically there were some areas where the mortar joints are cracked or there's been some separation. So what I was suggesting is we go after those areas where we've got some cracks and point those areas so that they're sealed up and watertight again. And there's not that many areas that I could see, okay? So, and we did point one area, but it wasn't a very, the workmanship was fairly poor, okay? But, so I would expect better than that. But basically, I thought there may be a half dozen areas where we need to repoint things, and that's it. I wouldn't go nuts on the building. So, you know, if you want, there's been a lot of discoloration on the building over the years, but maybe you want to leave that alone because it adds character. And plus, why spend the money? It's just,
Exactly.
keep it simple.
Yep.
And so my recommendation there, rather than spending money on me or somebody else, let's get some contractors in that you're comfortable with, that have a lot of masonry experience, and let's talk to them, let's pick their brains and see what they think. And then I can, what I can provide to the board is a technical backboard when we ask them questions. And so maybe we have a meeting with some contractors and we sit there and have a nice technical exchange and get a direction and some ideas on the cost and approach it that way rather than commissioning a study and, you know, it's just kind of crazy. That'd be my recommendation on that, okay?
I have a question. One of my confusing things in my head is what the front part out there. I think you said that the water drained toward the building?
It does, there's some
But
areas
it
there
looked
that
to
does.
me like it was going away from
Yeah,
the
it
building.
kind of does both. So, there's some slope issues out there, and there's some, you got issues over here where the water runs down in, and you got a small storm drain over here that gets plugged up with leaves and stuff, so there's some storm drainage issues around the building that need to be addressed. I was told that this wall here is damp, so
Yes.
before I go after the footings, I would first repoint things, caulk the windows, let's seal up the wall to see if we can stop water from coming in, because what we don't know is it water coming into the building from underneath, or old crappy footing drains, or is it simply water coming in through the walls? Well, the cheap fix is the walls, and we should fix that anyway, so let's go after the walls first, see what the result is, and then if we're saying, hey, it's still damp, then we can go after the footings, which is more money.
Right,
And
we used
so-
to have this problem, let's say, my daughter's 20 years ago,
Okay.
20 to 25
What'd
years
you do
ago.
20 years ago?
We used to clean
Okay.
the building, I used to have to mop up all the water in here. We had the same exact problem in just about the same areas, the water seeped in here.
Uh-huh.
When Art Peck built the library and did that parking lot, he resurfaced that parking lot, he brought the trucks over here and sealed all of this along the side. That fixed the problem for years.
Okay.
So I'm inclined to think it's maybe the same thing, that's just deteriorated.
So you maybe your footing drains aren't working real well, and that's your problem. But the footing drain issue is more expensive to repair than
Right.
just, repointing the masonry and caulking up the windows and whatnot. So I would do that first, because it's
Right.
a cheap, easy, take a look and,
Try sealing any of
Yeah, it's also out here, if there is a problem on this side, I would think it would be up here where the stairs go down in there.
Yeah.
Because down here alongside the building, I've looked at it and it's actually sloped away from the building. There was a crack down here, we put some sealer in some of the cracks, but I can't see where enough water is getting in that crack, especially where it's sloped away from the building, you know, to create such a water problem here. I kind of think there's something going on underneath back here, because I know there was a drain back here and they plugged the drain. There's a drain in the middle of
and
the floor back here.
where that emergency fire escape is, there's
No,
penetrations
right
in the
back
wall
there, I think
also?
it's right back there where that last row of seats is,
Okay.
right in there
Oh,
somewhere.
This side of that escape then, okay. But yeah, I would go after the wall first and the cracks, like you say, let's go after those things first and see if that fixes it.
If we If we did have to put the footing drains in, Glenn, can the building department get the backhoe and excavate that, put footing drains in?
It's up to you guys, I don't see why not.
So that's not a terrible thing.
Well, but it's not just footing drains though, okay? And
Then you have to
one of the things-
reseal.
Well, it's not just that, one of the things that, in the report that I mentioned was that over here with the footing drains, you've got that emergency exit for the theater or whatever it is over there, that old steel thing that's not in compliance with the current code. Well, if we put the footing drains in and we mess with that, I think, and you can check with your building, your code enforcement officer, but I think
Yeah, bring it
you're
up to
kind of
code.
signing up to bringing that whole thing up to code. And so you got more expenses than
Right.
just the footing drain. You sign up to other things above and beyond that. And maybe we can just eliminate it. I don't know what the egress issues are for the theater right now. Maybe we don't need it, maybe we do, that we'd have to look at that, but, and that's not in the best of shape, that old steel, you know, we're probably
Right.
better off just building a new one. And so anyway, so these little, they kind of snowball on you quickly. So that's why I wanted to do seal up the wall first and see if that worked, and if that solved the problem, then we're out of the woods. And if it doesn't, then we can go to the next step. It'll cost a little more money, but at least we knew we had to seal the wall no matter what. You know, let's do what we have to do to see if it fixes our problem.
How about this walkway here with the metal that's kind of
That
rotting out?
concerns me. Now, I don't know if the town has any drawings on that. Sometimes, like when I'll do designs like that with form deck, I'll put that steel form deck that you can see on the underside of the concrete. I'll use that for basically a form to place the concrete. But I'll design the concrete with steel inside of it to provide the structural needs for the steel, assuming that form deck underneath is gonna rust away and not provide structural integrity. That form deck is designed to provide structural integrity, and some engineers will design with that and not put steel in the concrete and use the form deck for structural and also as a form for the concrete. And I don't know when they designed and built that, if you have any drawings on it, or any photographs during construction that we would look at, that'd be great, because then we can get a handle on what's in there.
Could you take a core of it?
Well, we could, yeah, we could cut it basically, because we have to see if there's any rebar in there.
Yeah.
And maybe there's wire mesh in there, I don't know what's in there. And so,
And Lance down here one day taking a look at it, and he picked that part away, and it seemed like there was rebar up in there. So,
And if there's rebar in there, then
I'm a lot more comfortable. Now, if there's rebar in there now, I'm not so worried about it anymore. Now that's, you know, it'll last a long time. If there's no rebar in it, then I'm nervous. Okay, I mean, if there's no rebar rather, I'm nervous. But if it's got steel in it, then we got time.
right.
Okay, so
good.
that was my take on that.
That's a lot of money, I'm sure.
Well, let's figure out whether
Yeah,
or not we have
that-
rebar in there.
Yeah.
Well, not like the funny brains.
Probably should core it just so we know for our own, rather than just,
So you have no records of it, huh? There's no documentation anywhere?
Contractor
Who was?
First, you know,
They still around?
Oh,
Are they
yeah.
Still
Yeah,
alive?
Francis
It's still going, yeah. Used to
So-
be a highway superintendent.
So maybe we can ask them, call them and talk to them and see what, maybe he remembers.
Yeah.
Maybe he has photographs of what he did.
Fritz would remember what he did.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that would be great, because then that would limit the cost of the coring and put us at ease or make us worry a little more depending on the answer. So,
Overall, though, your first statement was it's in pretty good shape,
what is?
the building.
building.
The building isn't, yeah, the building in general is in pretty good condition. You got, you know, a bunch of nickels and dimes, you know, like that, and the footing drains or the steeple, little things. But they're all, you know, when you look at the cost of new buildings today, it's making some minor repairs, nickels and dimes here and there, that you can do in little tiny contracts. You don't have to go through extensive bidding processes and on all the crap that you can go through as a municipality, because they're small, little tiny maintenance type contracts. You really can make your dollars go a long ways if you just, you know, do the nickels and dimes, and just keep after it.
On that wall out front now, what we talked about on that last,
Which wall out front?
the one out front of the theater.
Okay, the planning, the planners, whatever
Yeah,
they are?
putting the planters in
Okay,
there.
yeah, you got some masonry, I don't know if they're planners or what you wanna call them, we could turn them into planners, I guess, if we wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got a couple of issues, with the stuff out in the front, and my recommendation there was, we probably should, if you're interested in doing anything in that sitting area out there, which in my opinion was our lowest priority in terms of getting the health of the building
Right.
straightened out. But at the end of the list is doing something out there, and I would recommend engaging, maybe Renaissance would help us, or maybe they would provide a landscape architect or something for us at a real low cost or free, and get some ideas from them. If you wanna make that a, you know, kind of a nice looking sitting area, we could get some ideas from them to improve the aesthetics of that area. But there's drainage issues there, there's also sight distance issues, because there's a street right here, and when you pull out that street with a car, you gotta be able to look up the street. And those masonry, whatever they are, you know, they can obstruct your view, so we have to be really careful in terms of what we do there, that we don't worsen the view, and actually what we should be doing is improving the view, so we don't have an accident of somebody pulling out there onto the main drag. So, since that should be addressed in any renovation we do up there, we should address those issues. Maybe those things could be used for planters, you know, if we could.
You're talking the brick wall.
Yeah,
The
there's
brick
the-
wall.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
the
talking
thick, right,
The
okay.
freestanding brick walls that are like this tall, is that what we're all talking about?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. And there's room in those, it looks to me, to make planters, if you wanted to make some planters and put some vegetation in those. But there's issues with that, with sighting distances and whatnot, and you got
Well, that's
freeze.
actually the handicap ramp up to the theater as well.
It is, that's
Yeah.
right, and so,
So-
and it looks like your ADA compliance up front is pretty close to compliance. I think you got some
From
minor
that side.
violations out there, yeah, I think you got some
From that
minor
side,
violations.
I'd like to see it from the other side,
You're-
from the
you're
parking
good over
area.
there, yes.
Yeah.
So,
Painting on the building was.
the paint's in
We
bad
gotta
shape.
do something,
You
that's
got,
a,
you know, I
that's
would,
a priority for this.
I would
So the front-
recommend this summer that
All
you.
around the trims and everything else,
Yeah.
get it all done. It's starting to rot if we don't.
Once it starts to peel, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Basically, you've pretty much doubled your cost when the paint starts to peel, so now they gotta go in, and they gotta scrape, and that's time, it's labor intensive to scrape all the old peeling paint off, and so, you really should, you know, you need to probably need to put in your budget, repainting stuff like that every, you know, maybe 6 years, you need to just
Yeah.
put another coat of paint on, to avoid having to scrape and repaint. And if there's rotten wood now, you're gonna have to replace some of the rotten wood. So, so you got some issues there. You know, you saw in the one photograph that piece of laminated plywood out there where you can
Right.
see it's literally falling apart. Stuff like that should be replaced. And, so but yeah, painting is really important.
Yeah, so
And I would strongly recommend that be done this summer.
Yeah.
As we know, this cars are worn out.
So painting, repointing, talking to Chris Connector about
Yeah.
this.
Uh-huh.
Fritzy Connector, Fritzy,
Yeah.
about this, and then sealing up the,
Sealing up this side,
This side.
whatever we can do over there. Let me look through the list. The recommendations I put on the last page were kind of what I thought in terms of priorities. Okay, so the first priority was to, okay, you've got the stucco on the back side of the building. That stucco's in bad shape. Okay, and that needs to be, I would basically resurface that stucco, and we can do that. There's some, and we can grip blast that, and then we can put some special materials on it to seal it up, and then repaint it. So we can revitalize that stucco. It's the old-fashioned stucco. It's not the new organic stucco. That particular stucco is responsible for more black mold in America than any other single product.
Wow.
So, if you go to Texas and California, the presence of black mold in buildings with that organic stucco is outrageous. There's been more brain damaged children and all kinds of horror stories from that organic stucco. So there are architectural applications where that stucco is a good fit, but not that one. So, so there I would stick with the old-fashioned, the old inorganic stucco breathes, so water vapor can move through the old-fashioned stucco, and that's what you're after. Okay. I should put my reading glasses on so I can read this. All right. Let's see what else we have. We'd already talked about the basement. and that wall. We talked about the sidewalk out there. I would talk to the theater, the theater is boarded up some of those windows, and aesthetically, it's not the nicest look for your town hall. I would think if I was the theater owner, I'd want my theater to look nice, and you might wanna talk to them about doing some kind of mural or something, kind of doing some kind of artistic look on those wooden surfaces where if they need to cover up, they need to block out the sunlight basically for the theater, I assume that's what that's for. Well, if they need to block out the sunlight in the theater, then maybe they could put something a little more artistic than just a gray painted boarded up window. So maybe they could give an artistic touch that would look nice and add value to the theater and be of interest to the community. And then the front patio we talked about, and and then this retaining wall over here. There's the retaining wall over here that's in really poor condition. It's not like you have to worry about it right now in terms of it, giving away and a car falling off into oblivion. But it's something that's going to be expensive to repair. It's not going to be cheap. You're going to have to do that. But you could do it. You don't have to do it this year. But you probably should plan on doing it in the next 5 years. So if you want to put that in your timeline, saying, hey, that's on my list. I don't know how long it's been like that. It's probably been like that for
Forever, it seems like.
Is that really? Maybe you have more than 5 years.
It's been like that for a long time.
Okay, so if you have a history of how slowly it's degraded, if it's kind of like crap and still there for a long time, then I would say you probably have more time than just 5 years. But that definitely at some point is going to have to be redone. So, okay. And that, do you have any other questions about the building?
The upstairs.
Okay. I sent Kevin a report on the upstairs for the. Gary with the report for the upstairs, and basically from what I could extract in the New York State Code for existing buildings, and the existing building code is probably the most convoluted section of code you can deal with. But I struggled through it, and I sent a copy to Kevin. I think Kevin, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Gary and I are in agreement on our interpretation of the code and the application of the code for that upstairs. Basically, there's a space upstairs that we could convert to an office and maybe a reception area, not a reception area, but like a clerical area or a conference room or something. So
A records room.
Records, be careful of records, because records are paper and heavy.
Yeah.
And so whatever you do up there, you're gonna wanna do something like an office type use, which doesn't have a lot of weight.
Okay.
But keep your paper files and records down here on the basement floor, where you can put as much weight on it as possible, as you want to.
Right.
But that is a relatively low-cost space upstairs. If you wanna go after that to recondition that, I did take all the dimensions when I was out here, so I can do a drawing for you if you wanna take the next step. But basically, we could create a two-room area up there.
Came up with about 310 square feet.
I was in the report, I can't remember, that's about right,
310,
like
remember
that.
we were going back and
Yeah,
forth between the numbers.
And it's, that's cheap space.
Right.
It's cheap, given the alternatives, it's a really low-cost way to pick up some additional space, to take care of some immediate needs that you might have, rather than, and that would enable you maybe to postpone a bigger expense down the road of a larger facility for the town hall.
Do we have any ADA issues at this point with the building? Are we okay?
If you have modified or altered your main entrance in front of the building, then technically you might have tripped some ADA requirements for the entrance into the building, okay? And I quite honestly didn't look real hard at the front of the building, but you have to be really careful about making any changes to your entrance and exit points to an old building like this that's grandfathered in so many ways.
Right.
So, So,
We're okay here?
over here, here we're fine.
Okay.
This side of the building I was fine with. The area that I was concerned with was the front entrance. Because I couldn't tell whether there'd been some recent alterations since the ADA laws had passed, which is, you know, back in the mid-80s, late 80s,
Yeah.
whatever it was. So if we had altered entrance since then we potentially could have a code issue.
They're not here.
Town hall. Ellen?
One of those automated things.
Nice.
Telemarketer.
This is Ashley from some crazy place.
So anyway, whatever you guys wanna do, if you want me to proceed with that, we can put together a little drawing and then what I would recommend for that is we put together a drawing and we break the project into steps and then slowly start moving towards converting that space to an habitable space and through a series of small contracts for the various phases. And if you have volunteers or town employees that could do part of the work, that would be great. It'll keep you, you know. if we
Without
could-
that wage, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little tiny project, you know, I don't think you wanna go after in a big way with
No.
prevailing wage and everything
Yeah.
else. It's like, come on, it's a little tiny project and it can be done with a few things and you're done.
Right.
And really, it's a renovation of an existing space that was at one time. It looks to me, when I was up there, like that at one time was an office up there. You can see books from
Yeah.
somebody that was
Right,
up
yeah.
there a long time ago.
Yeah,
It's been used
Yeah.
primarily as storage since then, but
Yeah.
at one time it was.
Right.
I would recommend his system, but let's break this up into small projects so we can knock off
yeah.
a section every year or whatever we got.
And now's this time of year, it's time to start putting it out to bid and getting all that together. and
There's a
getting it
timeline
moving.
with the recommendations.
Yes, you could break it up and that's right.
No,
And, you know, this is an indoor job. I mean, you can do this any time of year.
Well, I'm talking more of the outside, that's,
Oh, that stuff, yes, that's right.
you know, getting that all set up for the spring.
And I would like, if you have, I'd like to
Oh, absolutely.
I'm saying probably
I think the rest of the board has.
5 years is probably too short.
Backed up.
for which?
It's the timeline for a lot of the stuff we're doing, and some of it, it's, you know, the
We'll
whole
have to
total.
discuss that in long-term planning for budget,
Yeah,
so.
I think that's,
Yeah,
I mean, you have to sit down and talk and
yeah.
that.
Now, I have
So-
a question, not to cut you off, but now going forward, you have your priorities and stuff. Can you give us some sort of a proposal as far as your cost and time to handle each one of those issues, or how do you wanna do that?
Not much money.
Okay, I don't want you to work for
We haven't
that.
charged you guys very much so far, and it's
No,
not
you've
gonna
been
change.
fantastic.
So,
Fantastic.
you know, and so, you know, it's probably gonna take me, I mean, the way our contract is set up is basically, you say, hey, how much will, you just ask me like you just did, okay, what's our next step? Well, the next step is to make a floor plan. Well, it's
How much
probably
is
gonna
that gonna
take me a day to put together a floor plan. All right, so that's $1,000 basically, my time is $1,000 a day. And then we've got a floor plan to start talking to contractors about. So, and I would, rather than spend a fortune on, because it's a small project,
Right.
rather than go nuts on engineering services and architectural services, I would say, hey, let's get the floor plan laid out, and then let's get proposals from contractors for the various phases, and let the contractors tell us what they're gonna propose, and for how much that's gonna cost, and then we can look at the proposals and question them and say, okay, this covers what we need, and then we don't have to pay for that, because they'll
Right.
provide that for us.
Right.
And then we'll go off and get that done, and then oversee it a little bit and make sure it happens like they promised.
We get more bang for our buck, I think.
I think, well, that would be my approach, if it was my money.
So do we wanna
100%.
authorize Wes to, do the thing on the building star?
I just wanted to ask, was anything wrong with the roof, that the roof would need replacing? I know we had tried to put solar panels up there, and it was no, because they're gonna have to do work on it. What was the assessment on that?
From the ground, the roof looked okay, I didn't see any issues, the roof looked like it was in reasonable condition, I did not climb up on the roof and do a thorough inspection of the roof, but from what I could see on the ground, it looks like it's been re-roofed not long ago, it looked like it was in reasonable condition. There's no apparent leaks in the building from the roof. There's no, along with some gutter issues that we have, for drainage, once the water comes off the roof, that I addressed in the report. But I don't, to my knowledge, I don't think we have a roof issue.
When
The
we were
roof is
looking,
structurally sound.
Yeah, there are shingles that have been flying off and it's 25 years old. I mean, we really thought we had to replace that roof. And then if we had the
Now, which roof
opportunity, we
we're talking
wanted to
about?
do it.
We're
with
talking
the
town
about-
hall roof.
Yeah.
Well, I know that, but I mean, there's several roofs on this building.
There's, on this side, there are shingles that have fallen off. I mean, they haven't been replaced, they're off, they're gone.
Well, then maybe we should look at that.
Another day over, we'll have to get up there.
If we get up there, is there a way up there to actually?
I don't think there is any way to get up there, we take a look.
Got a big ladder.
Oh,
Can't
man.
climb the
I
ladder.
don't like that.
That's a long way up there.
Yeah, that's a
The
long
bomb
way.
won't bounce, but we don't.
What do we have? Does the town
Binoculars
have
stand over the-
anything, any cherry pickers or anything where they can lift us up to
What
look at
about-
things? A boom, does town have a boom or anything?
Put up a ladder.
Fire truck?
The other reason we brought this up was because when they were
Solar.
talking about having
Solar panels, right.
and what have you, and placing the roof, if they can't put solar panels up there, at least when they're redoing it, if they can re-insulate it up to a higher degree, you might even get some money, you know,
Right.
for that as an energy efficient saving factor, and it might give the town a little boost towards the climate smart pledge
Right.
of conserving energy.
When I look at the insulation, basically the large portion of the roof, which is over the theater, that space over there is insulated at the ceiling of the theater. And so we're not gonna get much increase in energy efficiency by adding insulation to the roof. And in fact, you could actually cost yourself more money in the long run if you set up vapor issues. Right now, the wood is all nicely exposed and runs nice and dry, doesn't have any trapped moisture issues behind it. So you got a good system right now. It's been there for a long time, and it's worked really well. And they've got a lot of insulation on the ceiling of the theater itself, which is the best place to put it. If they wanted to add more insulation on the theater roof, on the theater ceiling, that would be good, but I don't think the town pays the theater's bill, that's their own deal,
No,
right?
that's their
So, so there's not a lot of incentive for the town to spend money on a space that they don't pay the energy bill for. So,
But they still, it's a town building still, it's rented, right? And if you could get the credit from the
For-
climate smart, you know, insulation grants or incentives or whatever, that might be worth doing, even though you don't, you know, pay the bills for it. If it cuts down on the bills, that addresses the
Right.
climate smart pledge.
Right.
okay, I don't know anything about this climate smart pledge, so I don't know how that factors into your decisions. If I can mention a few things about your solar stuff, if I might interject some things. The photovoltaic industry or that technology is probably the most mature of all the renewable energies on the market today. That being said, it is also one of the most expensive elements that in the system are these inverters. And the inverters, they fail between 5 and 7 years, and they're very expensive to replace. And their warranties, maybe 5 years, something like that. And they're an item that does, even though it's electrical, it does fail. And it is a big cost item. And so you need to be aware of the real costs of ownership of a photovoltaic system because of these inverters. That is a big expense. The other aspect is the panels, when there's impurities in the silica that they use to make the photovoltaic panels, as typically occurs in panels made in China, the performance of the photovoltaic panels rolls off over time and doesn't perform as well. So 10 years, 15, 20 years down the road, the performance of your array is nowhere near what it was when you bought it on day one. So depending on where the panels are manufactured and who manufactures them, the quality that they use during the manufacture, you could be subject to, poor
So
performance
something
in the
else to
long
look
run.
into in the RFP,
You need
where
to-
the
you need to
panels are
address that.
manufactured.
And
That's a
who's
good
gonna-
point.
And who's gonna warranty the inverters, and how long is that warranty gonna be good for? So those are things that you really should think about. The other thing that you should understand is that anytime you can put a renewable energy source behind your power meter, you're way better off. Because if your power costs, say, 10 cents a kilowatt hour, if you're behind your meter and you can spin your meter backwards with your renewable energy, you're way ahead because you're paying 10 cents a kilowatt hour. But as soon as you get on the other side of that meter, then NYSEG says, well, you know, we don't pay that much for actual energy production. Out of that 10 cents a kilowatt hour, you know, 6 cents is for distribution of the power, so we're only gonna give you like 4 cents a kilowatt hour for your power. So instead of getting your 10 cents, you're getting 4 cents, and when you factor that into your equations for payback and whatnot, it's a really important thing to look at. Is there any way I can get it behind my meters, because the payback will be much more significant. And the other thing to look at, typically in a municipality, your water department and your sewer departments, in the old days, they had really high demand charges. Because in the old days, they had these water pumps, well pumps, water pumps. Then you had your sewer, if you had pump stations in your sewer system, these pumps would kick on, and there might be 20 horsepower, 50 horsepower, the big motors, and they kick on, and you get a really huge spike in your power, and NYSEG really reams you on your power bill. So I don't know out of that $41,000, what percentage of it was for your water and sewer departments, but if a big portion was from those departments, then you might want to look at smart motor starters, for example, that give you a slow. You already have smart motor starters? Okay,
Yeah,
so you're all good on that?
It's slowly.
Good, so you got rid of that's huge, because that saves you a ton of money, just having smart motor starters. And the sewer department and the water department have done that?
Yeah.
Okay, then you're good on that.
And they don't have the blowers either. Those blowers, they suck up the energy. Like for your aeration ditches and your wastewater treatment plants.
Yeah?
They are huge energy, as
Yeah.
Bernie can tell.
Okay, so you've already done those things. Okay, I just want to make sure that you, because that was a big, you could have a big savings there
Yeah.
if you've already gone down that path, so that's great. Okay, all right, that's all I wanted to interject on that.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Star, did you have one other
Just
question?
that was another advantage to the power purchase agreements, because the people that lease, that build and operate that facility, they also repair, take care of the roof if it's on a roof, which we don't plan to do now. It's not sounding like that's gonna be the way we're gonna go. But in addition, they not only repair something if it gets broken, but periodically through the term of the contract, if there's some revolutionary upgrade to the photovoltaic, whatever, the panels, they will come in and replace them. Their expense, because it's making them more money to make it more efficient. So you don't have any of those headaches that you would have if you own the system and an aging system is being more and more, less and less productive.
Okay, any other questions for Wes? Bernie, real quick?
This is a pretty old building. You think it might be on a historical site, and we would be able to have it fixed up from the state of New York, because we're on a historical?
First of all, you have to register the building.
This building's almost 100 years old.
Yeah, actually typically what happens there, Bernie, is,
105?
excuse me, is what happens if you put the building on the historic register, then you have to maintain the building at that historic level, which we've seen from our school building out in Jeff. We just spent, how much did we spend? I mean, it was
Put
astronomical.
a tile roof on.
Yes. So
I
that's
mean,
the
it's
level
just a
that you have
thought,
to
that's all.
maintain.
Look at Homestead,
Yeah.
when the historic district was costing those
Yeah,
people to paint their houses and stuff.
Yeah.
If
So-
we could get help from the state?
No, they don't give you help.
You don't want that kind of help.
Financial help.
You don't want that kind of help, Bernie. Good idea, Bernie, but there's other kinds of
Thank
help
you.
that are better for us.
This
Wes,
is
thank you
Sullivan
very
County.
much. Before
This
Wes
is, we're
goes-
gonna have gambling.
Bernie.
Do we want to authorize Wes to draw
I
up
would.
something for upstairs, for the extra office space?
I don't know
or-
much about that. That's really you.
Primary floor plan, I'd say yes, we should, so we can,
Do we need it?
yeah,
Right
we're
away?
gonna need
Well,
the
that
space.
that
Well, we
gets you
need
the
space.
talking points with basically what that helps us to find the scope of work, so now we can get your bids.
Yeah.
So once
Start
we have
working on
that,
pricing it.
then we can get some.
My
there's
question
more
was,
than just
do we
a
need the
floor.
extra
First
office
step.
space?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're packed up there, anything we can take out of there, it's a blessing.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, I'll work on that, and if you guys.
I'll make the motion.
I'll
May I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
There you go, Wes.
I've got one, thank you.
Got one, I don't have enough blood, but if you wanna get ahold of me,
Put that.
I don't have, that's up my. I'm sorry.
They will share it.
Wes, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate you coming down.
If anybody has any questions, you can always call my office.
Yeah, I know how to reach you.
Yeah, and so I got a couple more here, I had some in my wallet, so here's some more.
Okay, thank you.
We got it right now. Okay, all right, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Wes,
much.
thank you.
Safe home.
Yeah, thank you.
It's gonna be nasty out there tonight.
There's a dark drive on the way over there.
Yeah, it's gonna be nasty.
And we're moving into another presentation. I'd like to introduce to you Jennifer Grossman, Esquires of the Solution Project, regarding the adaptive reuse of the vacant school building. Welcome, Jennifer.
Yeah.
We just gotta make sure we got this hooked up here. Yeah, sorry, we thought that might be the best location so everyone could not hurt their necks or backs. Is this plugged in?
You just added the wall.
What?
Just went on.
It just went on? Alright.
Why'd you just jiggle?
I just pressed the power button now.
Cool. I was just here.
This is all county
right here.
Yeah.
This must be, this is part, Jennifer, is this part of your presentation?
Yeah, there's a map. So. All right, you know, while we set this up, just in the interest of time, I know it's getting late. Thank you all for staying for as long as you have, and it's great to see a really nice gathering. One of the things I really want to stress about this presentation is that this is a community effort. It's an idea. We want to share it with you. We want feedback. We want this to be owned by this community. This doesn't have authorship of the Solution Project or anyone else in particular. This is a community effort. And second, this is an economic development initiative. This is about creating jobs. This is about creating vitality in this community, in the entire region, and taking advantage of what we've got here, our natural assets. So this is not going? or-
Well, you gotta turn the computer on.
Oh.
I think that's actually.
Andrea is, sorry about this. All right, so the computer's on.
There you go, you're on.
All right, so I think there's a light over here that might shut off these front lights. Can you all hear me? I don't think I need a mic, right? Okay. So let me give you a little bit of background about me first. I'm a Sullivan County resident. I live in Livingston Manor. I've been
Thank you.
excellent, thank you. I've been working here for 20 some odd years in different capacities. I was at DEC as a land attorney for many years. I worked on forest preserve issues and unit management plans and wildlife management plans and forest lands. Then I went to a group called the Open Space Institute. They're somewhat of a large land trust, a regional land trust, and what we did was look at areas of significance, create strategic conservation plans, and my focus and my connection was the Catskills. One of the reasons why I focus so much on the Catskills is because my roots are here. My grandparents met at the Swan Lake Hotel. My grandfather worked at Tamarack. My father and my uncle were Brown's Hotel waiters. I learned how to fly fish here, so I have a real connection to this community for quite a long while. And I've seen lots of shifts, and I've seen lots of things change, and I feel it's important for us all, again, and I stress this, not just the town board, which has a huge role here in shifting the direction and making some really exciting changes, but you as a community too, to voice your interest and your ideas and have that be incorporated. And that's what this is about. That's what the Solution Project is. It's really about coming up with what are the ideas to resolve some of the issues that we have, whether it's degradation of natural resources, poor economics in our workforce, or just the idea of how do we create a growth initiative that attracts the kind of communities we want to see develop. The Solution Project is a nonprofit organization that has been behind this and has generated a lot of these ideas. It is the main focus of the Solution Project is to create and take an underutilized asset like the Narrowsburg School and make it into something valuable and that really can generate energy in this community. On the left, you'll see our board of directors there, our contact information, and again, there's copies that you might all have now, but if you don't have one and you want one, I can get you an extra copy of the presentation and our contact. So 3 things I want to talk about first is why we think this is the right time, and why we think this is the right place, and why we think we have the right people that we think can get this going. And one of the most significant things is what's going on with agriculture right now in our world, in our country, and in our state. You know, the big shift in agriculture happened after World War II. World War II was when petroleum entered agriculture and things became industrialized. At that time, that's when agriculture became very monoculture based. It was more efficient. The government allowed for federal subsidies, supported the creation of different types of large-scale monoculture. And what that did was really deflate the capacity of diversified small family farms to make it. And it did one thing that was considered great, which made food a lot cheaper. Once you create monocultures and you grow it more efficiently and you put a lot of industrialized capacity in, food becomes cheaper. The problem is monocultures are very, very subject to different types of blight, different types of pests, different types of market decline. Let's just say there's a shift in that crop and all of a sudden you're destroyed. So it makes a very fragile ecosystem. So that's what happened on sort of a national scale with farming, and that's what we're seeing today. We had 1 out of 4 people in this country in the 1920s lived on a farm. Now it's 1 out of 8 at the most. The health of people has been significantly reduced by this impact on farming. What we're seeing now is that because food is cheaper, we have less nutritional value coming in to our diets. Right now, childhood obesity has tripled in New York State alone. And this is a devastating type of issue for us because the concept of type 2 diabetes, which was initially called adult onset, is now hitting kids 6 to 11 years old. In that age group alone, obesity has increased 5 times. And that's only been in the last 15 years. What this costs us is almost $350 million a year in this state alone, just to handle these types of issues related to childhood obesity. And again, I'm not going to run through all of these facts and figures, you've got them before you, but you can understand that the poor nutrition not only affects the capacity of our next generation to be resilient and to be even focused in the classroom and to be productive members of society, but it's a huge economic burden in our system. The last thing is just in general population. We've got 7 billion people in the world right now. We're going up to 9 billion. In order to provide enough food for these people in our world, we have to increase our food production by 70%. But every year we're losing land. Every year we're losing our farms, and we don't have the capacity even now to raise the kind of food that we want to see. In the United States alone, we lose 2 acres per minute of farmland. That's every day. New York State loses, last year, we lost 26,000 acres alone in New York State. And I actually have a stat for the Catskills from 3 counties, Sullivan, Greene, and Delaware. 2002 to 2007, we lost 14% of our acreage of farmland. If you look at 97 to 07, a decade stretch, we lost 20,000 acres overall. And the Catskills has been losing farm and acreage more rapidly than the Hudson Valley overall, or even compared to New York State as a whole. Yet, our heritage and our culture and our tradition is steeped in our agricultural roots. We have natural assets that not many other places in the world have. We don't understand what water stress is because we've got plenty of pure, clean water. We don't have an issue even with the affordability of land in many situations because our farmland is actually affordable compared to Long Island and the Finger Lakes and the Hudson Valley and even up near the Capital District. So we've got land and we've got soil, but we're losing it. We're losing a tremendous amount of our capacity to grow our food. The other thing is the food itself. I don't know if many of you have been watching what's going on with GMO labeling, genetically modified foods. There's an issue of should it be genetically modified at all, or should you even be informed that it is? And that's what the labeling requirement's about. There has not been anything consistently done or said on labeling. Certain states are pursuing it on their own. On the other hand, however, there's certain types of labeling that go without restriction, like the word natural, or green, or pure. None of those have definitions, and none of those in any way are restricted. So we don't have enough clarity connected to the kind of food that we're eating, this disengagement of understanding where does our food come from. The other thing is antibiotics, and I'm not sure if you're aware that there was a recent challenge. It was a 35-year challenge to FDA to get 2 key antibiotics out of the meat that we eat. And these 2 antibiotics were those that were given to kids when they had the croup or other kind of respiratory problems. And the doctors and medical folks are saying that there has not been any kind of reaction to traditionally what would be an improvement in a child's health from these antibiotics. They tied it back to the usage of antibiotics in meat. 75% of the antibiotics that are fed to the animals that we eat have nothing to do with the health of those animals. It's simply to promote their growth and to enhance their capacity to eat more and grow faster. Of those 75% of antibiotics, 60% of those antibiotics we use every day on a regular basis in our hospitals and our doctors' offices. And if you look at the infectious diseases that we're seeing now, 2 or 3 new ones every year, they are tied directly to red meat consumption or other types of meat that get antibiotics included in them. Last but not least is the economy, and that's a critical issue right now. We don't understand when we talk about externalities, the $1.99 Happy Meal. Well, that $1.99 Happy Meal had a lot of other impacts along the way before it got to the register and you paid for it. In the United States, we have the lowest percentage of our income goes to food. From our adjusted gross income, we predominantly take maybe 8 to 10% of our paychecks and go buy food. The rest of the world pays 30 to 50% of their paycheck on food. That's a given, and it's always been that way. And they understand it, and they have a different appreciation for food because it costs a lot more. But they also don't have the types of diseases that we see and the impacts that they see in their health system, because they have a different level and a different quality of food. And it's proven to make significant changes in policy. So what we've thought about is on a very massive scale, and when I say we, it's a larger group. We've got Sullivan County Legislature that has been so progressive in so many ways. We've got town boards that are thinking about what do we naturally have here? What do we already have existing that we can use, that we don't have to start from the ground up? And you have groups like the Natural Resources Defense Council, which I work with also, starting their first ever regional food shed initiative, as well as other groups. CM Hudson, who's a land trust that works in this area, Open Space Institute. There is a tremendous capacity to say, let's think about together as a group what we have and what we can do. The solution has been identified as a food hub, and there's many names for it, there's many definitions for it, but it really is just a concept of what is the infrastructure that we need to gather our food together and aggregate it in a way that's efficient, to move it from the field to the fork in an efficient way, and add the kind of processing that we want our farmers to have access to, because we know our farmers are going to make more money with a value-added product. Our dairy farmers, as many of us know, have been limited for decades by federal milk pricing. And the way they sell their milk and how they sell it is unfortunate because they don't have a choice. They're selling to co-ops and they're limited in terms of what they can do with that milk. If there was an opportunity to process that into yogurt or cheese or ice cream or anything else, that return could be provided to the farmer, and again, it creates a stronger economic base for the dairy world. Our goal here is to think about what are the kinds of processing that we could provide in a facility like the Narrowsburg School that would allow our farmers greater amounts of income. And that's what food hubs do in general. They bring together private enterprise and public, and they've had access to markets. Markets is a huge issue, and especially because of diversity. There is a huge issue for smaller farms when it comes to diversity. As I talked about before, monocultures is really what about large agricultural corporate structure is all about. They want one crop, they want to do it as much as they can. When it comes to diversity, that's what our small farmers are all about, because they learn to rotate their crops. They're involved with different types of seasonality. There's a greater understanding of the natural flow of cycles. So diversity is really a common concept in agriculture only for the small and mid-sized farms. And that's what food hubs support. Food hubs want a diverse capacity of an agricultural economy. They don't want just 1 or 2 items. They want everything from your meat, from your dairy, and your produce. Diversity is also really good for your soil. It suppresses weeds. It has a balancing act for it, so you don't need as much fertilizer. And it really decreases the use of pesticides, which is always a good thing. And it also works in a way that allows for new farmers to get involved. The second impact from a food hub is really about how it supports the new farmers. one of the really scary statistics that I've came up with is there are 6 times more farmers in this country over the age of 65 than there are under 35. The average age of the American farmer, and in New York, is 58 years old, and there isn't that plan for succession, because the business that is handed down from a farm family to the next generation, for the most part right now, is not financially viable. It's not a sustainable business to undertake. So what food hubs do is support these small-scale new farmers, because most of these farmers are younger than newer farmers. Most of them don't have as much acreage, they have smaller farms, and most of them do have diversified crops because they have to make that balance to make their income and to pay their checks, their bills. So what these food hubs are doing are providing access to markets for new young farmers that don't currently have that or wouldn't understand what that's about, is because they're new in this business. It also gives them much better pricing. When you have a food hub that can offer food on a larger scale, there's a much greater opportunity for individual farmers to get a higher level of income. The food hub itself is infrastructure. That's a huge, important impact. Because of the local demand, both here and the urban demand for local food, farmer markets have exploded. They've more than doubled in just the last 2 years. There's more than 6,000 across the U.S. There's the National Grocers Association for the first time came out with a survey this past year that said shoppers are making decisions based on where their food is from as opposed to just the cost of that food. That's never before been recorded. It's always been a price issue. How cheap can they get their food? Now they want to know where their food is coming from. There was an evaluation done in 2005 that said in New York City, there's over $800 million a year of unmet demand for local food. That was in 2005. The expectation now that's over $1 billion. And when you look at New York City, which for the most part spends about $47 to $48 billion a year, $47 to $48 billion a year they spend on food alone. That's a huge untapped market. We're 2 hours from New York City, and there's no reason why we can't be selling the food that we can grow, that we're growing now, and that we can grow more of down there. And last but not least, and the most important, is the economy. That's the tide that lifts all boats. If we can create jobs and we can bring more money into this community, if we could keep money in this community, that's our role to a vital and resilient economy, and that's our direction. And if you look at what food hubs have done, the average food hub employs 3 full-time, 2 part-time, and 1 seasonal staffer. And not only do these food hubs employ local folks, these food hubs are supporting smaller farmers. If these smaller farmers are doing better, they're expanding their acreage, they're hiring some staff themselves, they're increasing their own income, and that money gets generated. $1 spent on a farm turns around 3 times in the community, because that farmer is going to go to the local mechanic, the feed store, the vet, his local accountant. There's going to be a resilient local economy once we support our farmers. So it really is a wonderful way to revitalize not just the rural agricultural economy, but the entire community. And you look at where hubs are located, just in general. This, if you can see, and again, it'll be best on your handouts, there is a 200-mile radius that surrounds New York City, and it goes into New Jersey and parts of Pennsylvania. And again, because we are so close to Pennsylvania, we don't need artificial boundaries to say where agriculture matters. It matters all around us, and we want it to just be efficient. And if you look at this map here, it shows how much access there are for agricultural communities to get into New York City. And if you look at how many food hubs have been created in the last 5 years, 62% of the existing food hubs today have only come about in the last 5 years. Because this is the kind of research and work that's only been done in the last few years to figure out, why are our farmers not succeeding? We all want to eat locally. We all want healthy food. We like the way it looks when we drive around on our bucolic country roads, but why are we not doing it? Why is it not working? And one of the biggest issues is the inefficiency of distribution and aggregation. I'm not going to run through this whole list, but these are some food hub leaders that literally in the last 2 to 3 years have come to the table and said, we care enough about what's going on in our rural economies. We either have money, or we have wisdom, or we're willing to work. Work, wealth, and wisdom. Those are the key great things. Now, the first one I want to mention, the Wallace Center at Winrock. They recently gave a grant to Fair Food. Fair Food is a nonprofit group in Philadelphia, and they work on food hubs. They started Common Market. They work with creating access to local food. Well, they just got a small grant, and they approached us and said, Solution Project, we've heard you're working on a different idea for taking a school that was always considered a core of a community, a gathering place, a place of learning, a place of aggregation, and you're thinking about bringing some agricultural focus there. What if we had a convening around what the Narrowsburg School can be and the region, and we had a gathering of the top 40 people that are involved in food hubs? We said, yeah, let's do it. So that's what we're planning now. Fair Food is convening for probably, I would say, April or May of this year, and you'll all hear more about it, to bring the best minds who's already doing it, because we don't need to reinvent the wheel here. This has been done, again, 62% of all the food hubs out there just started in the last 5 years. There's amazing lessons to be learned, so we're not starting from ground zero. The other thing is Wholesome Wave. Wholesome Wave is a really interesting organization. They provide grants and loans, and they also do a lot of research, again, all about creating better food, more food, and access to it. They just created the first ever Food Hub Business Diligence and Assessment Toolkit. I'm one of the reviewers for this document, and I took a look at it, and I realized this is amazing. It's a primer for investors, whether you're a high net worth individual, whether you're a foundation, whether you're a government entity, or whether you're a corporate organization. This is to give people a way to evaluate food hubs. What are the type of things you look for in an investment property? Is it viable? Do you have a good management staff? Where is it located? What are your sources? It lists all of these things. We're starting at a perfect point. We can use this to identify exactly how we want to design our program to be more attractive to investors. This toolkit will be a leading document for anyone interested in investing in food hubs. If you look at RSF Finance, I'm not sure if folks have heard of Rudolf Steiner Foundation. Rudolf Steiner Foundation has created a sort of educational agricultural foundation for its students. It started several, decades ago, 30, 40 years ago. They started a finance arm too, to put their money where their mouth is. So what they do is invest in food hubs. And they're excited to hear about what we're doing. Again, there's absolutely no commitments, but they're excited to see that in the Western Catskills, where we have a huge capacity to grow food around us, we have access to transportation corridors both on 97, out 17B to 17. We've got rail transport. We might even have some water-based transport. But we've got a really exciting location in their mind because they see that there is efficiency built in already to where we're located. And that's a critical concept for food hubs. Again, there's other foundations here that are interested in financing. There's other USDA, RBEG, RBOG grants. These are rural business enterprise, rural business operating grants. And these are the kind of things that we see growing already. As you probably heard, a recent Sullivan County IDA operation called the local Ginsburg Food Hub just received not just an RBEG, not just an RBOG, but they received a state grant, the CFA, Consolidated Funding Application Grant. This is a concept, for those of you that aren't familiar with it, that the governor, Cuomo, when he took over, said rather than applying to 15 different agencies for your project because you fit into 15 different agency categories, submit one application and we'll send it to all the agencies. And everybody that you're eligible for will be able to allocate funds to you in one application. They applied for this grant and they got it. So there's now a small local food hub that's going to happen on the eastern side of the Catskill area. There's and there's an exciting opportunity there because they're going to do local aggregation for local distribution. We're looking to take our food and not only sell it locally, but bring it into the city because we have access to the transportation corridors. The other exciting thing are the smaller food hubs going on. So there's a farm, Lucky Dog Organics, and that's up in Delaware County, that's in Hamden. That's Richard Giles. He goes to the farmer's market every Friday at Union Square and every Saturday down in Brooklyn at Grand Army Plaza. And what he does Thursday night is he aggregates from everybody around him. He has plenty of room in his truck. He doesn't believe in going down half empty. So he brings food down. He's created a micro hub. Very simple. Show up by 3 o'clock, give me your pallets, loads it up, and he drives it down. He charges you a fee. So people are starting to do this at different levels. A very bare bones like that. The IDA, Sullivan County, is already on its way with 3 grants under its belt. So we feel like this is not just, again, the right location, not just the right infrastructure, because we got it, but it's the right time. There's attention and interest on government level, private level, philanthropic level to support food hubs. So what are we talking about when we talk about the Narrowsburg School? And again, this is an idea. This is to be developed further. This is something we welcome everybody's ideas to expand, because this is just what we think seems to fit gaps. We don't want to replicate anything that's out there. We really want to fit into a system that is missing things. So first we say is, again, it's an economic development initiative. We want to create employment opportunities. We want to preserve our natural assets. And we really want to take the existing businesses that we got and grow them. The second thing is, we want to take a school that is an unrealized asset and enhance it in a way so it has mixed use opportunities for everybody. It can be for aggregation, for processing, for education. It'll be, again, a way to fortify small family farms, start new ones, and expand anything else that's related to the connection and aggregation of food. And last but not least, we think that this is something that can meet this unmet demand for local food. We are hearing it, we are seeing it in our shops and our surveys. There is a need to provide New York City with a greater amount of food. And again, that's not to say that we're not going to provide this food here locally. We would love to have a public farmers market. We would love to see a year-round market, and if that could happen. The concept behind what we see as sustainable food system here coming out of the Narrowsburg School is threefold. And the first and foremost is our aggregation. Again, how do you efficiently bring food together in a way that makes sense both for the farmer, the distributor, and the purchaser to get it from field to fork? So we don't want to just be another food hub where we're bringing in fresh produce and herbs and what have you. What are we missing? We don't have a place to age meat here. We've got 3 major meat processors up in Delaware County. It's New York Custom Meats, Larry's, and Steiner's. You've also got Eklund's that recently opened, that's 4. We've got the Liberty Red Meat Processing Facility that has broken ground. It is happening. And that's moving ahead. There is no place to age meat. The interest in grass-fed beef and grass-fed meats is growing tremendously. If we could take part of our facility here, which has a commercial kitchen, has the capacity to deal with the energy use that would be required to work this type of a cold storage area, we could create an aging facility for our local meat producers. There's a group called Regional Access. They're one of the largest distributors in the entire Northeast. What they do is pick up our Catskill meat and they bring it back to Ithaca. And they store it there, and then they bring it to New York City. For them, they don't have a choice. They don't have anywhere else to bring it. They're very interested to hear about what this could be for them. This could be a location for all of our Catskill farmers who've got lots of beef, that expanding, or goat, or lamb, or pork, and bring it here and age it and have them pick it up. The other thing that we're thinking about is, with a commercial kitchen the size that we have, it's an exciting opportunity on so many fronts. One, you're a farmer and you got a bumper crop of tomatoes, well, come on in and rent it out for a few days and make your salsa and your tomato sauce. Or we've got some folks in New York City that are paying $150 to $250 a square foot for a facility that has no infrastructure, and they've got to bring all the equipment in, and then they can make their product. Well, some of these caterers would love to not only procure locally, because they're buying local stuff, they want to make it locally. So we're talking to a caterer who's considering, well, maybe I would come take a look and see what the kitchen looks like. Maybe it works for me, maybe it doesn't, but it's something I would consider. Last but not least is educate. Again, it's a school. This is the heart and soul of our community and our growth and our next generation. Well, we've talked with SUNY Sullivan, we've talked with some other folks too, but the key issue that we find with food hubs, and that has come out in a lot of the reports that are analyzed, is that the most important thing to keep your food hub viable is that you have a good management team. You have someone that knows logistics. When's that food coming in and out? Where's that 48-hour cold chain connection? Who's dealing with the trucking schedule? Who's picking up? Who's dropping off? Who's packaging? Who's responsible? Well, for the first time ever, the University of Vermont is coming up with a food hub manager logistics training program. They're working on it now. It'll be out by 2015. They will then license different academic institutions to teach it. So then that institution can certify hub managers. Our thought is, let's get them upstairs at the Narrowsburg School. Let's have SUNY Sullivan or another academic entity that's interested be the first licensee in New York State, and not only are you upstairs training in a classroom, you're downstairs real-time working at a food hub, getting your on-the-job training. Seems to make a lot of sense. Again, these are ideas. There is nothing in terms of a commitment that we have from any of the partners other than they say they want to be a partner, they want to be involved. We've been talking about this for 2 years. This obviously looks very familiar, I'm sure, to all of you. This is a beautiful confluence of so many things. The Delaware River area, two beautiful states that have an agricultural heritage, you know, and a great capacity that you've already proven you have to beautify and fortify the community spirit, not just in a physical way. You've made people feel proud to be here. People want to open shops. People want to walk downtown. People want to sit by there. I mean, that's an accomplishment that is priceless, and it's because of the commitment of your board and the commitment of the people in this community. Inside the school, we've got some really good bones here. We've got a capacity, yes, you know, there's lots of other things that need to be fixed up. We've got a gymnasium that can be an area for aggregating our food and having a very efficient layout for bringing food in and out. It's very close to where the bays are, where the school buses came in, so you have the capacity for trucks to come in at different levels with different types of produce. You've got, as we mentioned, the commercial kitchen and a cafeteria. The thought is we can expand that further. And you've got classrooms. And you've got enough of a separation for each of these that other uses could be there. Maybe there is some kind of administrative office, you know, capacity for anything. Maybe there's rental space for other businesses that might not have office space. Maybe there's a community conference center that you might want to just rent the space to have your own meetings. Maybe there's a tech center. There's a great computer room in this building that we could have people come in and just rent by the hour, computer time. Broadband, as we all know, is an issue. So maybe this is a core center for not just training, but for use and new business startups. So we envision this to be a lot of things. I mean, obviously, we got to start with a few things. We need an anchor tenant. We need someone to commit to be there to pay the monthly bills. Then we can aggregate the type of capital that we need to acquire the building. And it's all a juggling match. Nothing, it's like a chicken egg. We can't get our tenant unless we got the facility. We can't get the facility unless we've got the tenant. So that's why we're working on it. That's why we're here today to talk about it. We really want feedback. We really want to get this to a point where we so fine-tune it that we have identified exactly who our tenants are, whether it's SUNY Sullivan or another group, whether it's a caterer in New York City or another group, whether it's regional access. These are the other things. And hearing tonight, it was actually really interesting to sit here through your whole meeting, because I hear and appreciate what you go through in running this community, but how many exciting things are going on with solar and what's going on even with the restoration of this historic building. Well, we're thinking we could have green roofs on this school area. We could have solar panels up here. We could start a geothermal initiative. There's also a pellet stove opportunity, a boil-it pellet opportunity that could be really interesting to get ourselves sort of more energy independent. But again, we've got a school which is all about a learning center. It's a core for learning. It makes sense that why not? Why not? Let's proceed as we go. Let's just pursue this and consider all the options. And again, the three core issues here is that we're creating partnerships that don't yet exist between ourselves, amongst ourselves, and between our neighbors, and we're crossing, as I said, state lines, and we're crossing down into urban rural, and it's not an us versus them. This is something that we have an opportunity to direct and control, and that leads to the kind of success that we want. What we want to see is a pride that we have in our community, and that we feel that regardless of the economic value that we know we have, that it really is a community we want to live in. It's a place we want to stay. It's a place we're proud of. And what's so exciting about the list of folks that are already involved in food hubs, by this toolkit that's coming out to advise investors on what they're doing and what they should consider when investing in a food hub, it means that this is really an opportunity to fit into a serious interest of investors in this type of infrastructure. It's the more recent, or I hate to use even the word trendy direction, but it's here to stay. This is the type of growth in agriculture that is a natural progression from our small local medium farms to our local food interests to our connections to making sure that everyone has access to good local food. That's what a food hub does. And the fact that impact investors are serious enough that they're already putting their money where their mouth is. The folks that are advising them are putting out toolkits for them to tell them how to invest in food hubs. It means that it's the time. But it really requires a fortified front. We have to come together and present this. There's no reason for us to be at different points in different places. That if we can really come together and say we have confidence in this idea, this is our idea, and we go to Governor Cuomo and we ask for a CFA grant. The Solution Project already has a draft application ready to go. They're due in August. And Andrea Reynosa has done a tremendous amount of work, and Kevin Vitries and Joe Levine and Richard Murdoch, and Heather Jaxie's been tremendously helpful. There's been a huge team behind this that we're ready to go to ask for this money. We want this idea to be more solidified. We want this entire board to be part of it and to back it. And I think that is the way we attract investment to this community, that we come together as a fortified front. And that kind of solidarity is the kind of thing that can't be beat in any way. So what we want to do is we want to grow our economy, we want to eat healthier, and we want more jobs. We want people to come here and work here. We want our kids to stay here. So this is really the time to do this. It's an incredible opportunity to present this to you and to have this group here. And I not just welcome questions, I welcome ideas. I really would love to hear how we can move this together, take this unrealized asset and really create a viable new economic growth opportunity for us. So thanks a lot, and I appreciate your time. So, I don't know if there's questions that you might have, or...
How about economics? Talk to us about economics. What's the economic outlet for this? Do you have money already? Do you have any investors involved? Do you have a business plan? What's your plan out?
Right.
Costs?
Yeah, so we have preliminary P&L statements, profit and loss statements about, based on a variety of factors. One is what is the cost of the building, which is yet to be determined. And there's a variety of opportunities there. We know there was 2 recent sales of schools, which give us a really legitimate comparable. So we know what 2 other schools were sold for, so we can have a better understanding of this cost. As I said, anchor tenants will be critical. We're going to have to make sure that we have someone that's consistent and able to pay a certain rent that would allow us to either pay, whether it's a mortgage or what have you. We do have, I can't commit to any investor that has said, here's a check and let's go, but there are foundations, RSF Finance, the Jesse and Betsy Fink Foundation, and the Surdna Foundation are 3 key foundations that have what you call PRI money, program-related investment. So a nonprofit group like the Solution Project or a municipality would be eligible for that type of a loan/grant. PRI, a foundation has to spend 5% of its corpus during the year to be qualified as a private foundation. If they give a PRI, program-related investment, that qualifies and counts towards their 5%. So if they give us the loan and they decide to forgive it, it can be considered part of their 5%. So we become eligible for that as a nonprofit entity. So we're talking to these folks about it. But no, there has not been any commitment by any individual to write a check for us.
Let me just take it one step further. Let's
Yeah.
say you get your grants.
Yep.
And you purchase the building and you are able to renovate the building to fit your needs. Okay?
Right.
How much, do you have an idea of how much food you need to move through that facility on an annual basis, on a monthly basis, in order to pay your bills?
Yeah, so we...
And do we have that much product here around us?
That's a great question, and that's one of the issues, that we do need to scale up. That we don't have enough food being produced now to satisfy this unmet demand. In terms of the amount of product that we need to move to keep this particular effort sustainable, we are getting those figures from folks like Regional Access that are already doing it. So we're getting numbers from them. How much are they spending per month on their refrigeration and their cold storage? How many pounds of hanging meat do they have? What are they taking? Are they taking whole carcasses or half carcasses? Are they doing custom cuts? So we're trying to find, do we need a cutting room here? Or are we just going to store it? And we want to work with Sullivan County IDA to figure out what is that red meat processing facility going to do? What more do you need from us? So those are the kind of numbers that we're putting together into this plan. So they're in process, yeah. But those are all the right questions, because this first and foremost, is a business. This is not a feel-good thing. This is not the kind of, let's get together and just talk. This is a company that will have to pay staff and that will have to cover its costs. So it's again, this balancing act of making sure we can get the free money, the grants, get the investor capital to give them a return, and make sure we've got some key users that are viable tenants that are committed to pay our rent. Yeah.
Jennifer? Well, you certainly are a poster girl for food hubs on Viper Street, so that was a very nice presentation. Thank you. But I'm a little confused about a couple things.
Sure.
The Solutions Project is a not-for-profit?
Yeah, we're in process of getting our 501c3 status.
And, but when you operate, you said it's strictly a business.
The 501c3 can create an arm that would be the entity that would operate the food hub. We could be the landlord and lease it out to a private entity that would operate it. So the nonprofit or for-profit sort of characterization of the ownership is not as much relevant as the fact is it's still a business. It still has to be run with a bottom line.
Well, the relevance is taxes,
Yeah.
tax dollars to.
I think what she's getting at is if you're a nonprofit organization and you're not gonna be paying the land tax on the
Right.
land school.
Yeah.
Right,
So
right.
you'll be
No,
tax exempt.
yeah, exactly. And our thought for that was, well, we don't want to take money away from the town, so it was never a tax generating property to begin with. So at least we felt if it becomes a nonprofit owned building, we wouldn't take taxes away. But the thought is that maybe there is a for-profit effort, and one of the reports that are mentioned here says the most successful food hubs are those that are for-profit businesses, not the nonprofit. The nonprofit status makes you more eligible for grants and financing.
I understand.
So there's that balance, but if this could be a for-profit, tax-generating effort, yes, let's do it. It just has to be something that can be financed.
Well, even if it's not,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
even if it's not, if you're still nonprofit, if it's increasing the economic foundation of town, the town still reaps benefits.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
our expectation is that this spreads into Main Street and beyond.
Right.
And maybe there's new types of businesses that open up down in Main Street, but all around. And people will be coming here and spending money, whether it's at the gas station or at PAX or at the
Right.
diner or, the coffee shop. So it creates more movement throughout the
Right.
community because it is a destination place. But the corporate structure of the ownership of the property is yet to be determined. We're just looking at what makes the most sense, but a for-profit is not out of the question. And that would be a tax-paying entity.
There are not many schools that are located right in the middle of this town, so the location is critical, and I thank you for coming tonight. Solution Project already made an offer, okay, to the Sullivan West School District. Sullivan West School District owns this building, which I believe was turned down, okay? So how close are you now, okay, to make a deal, okay, to go to contract with the district? Are you far apart? Are you closer now? I mean,
It's interesting, because of the last two sales, the recent sales, and now give us all a better idea of what the value is, their expectation is still quite far apart from what we think the value of the property is. That's not to say we're not interested or willing to entertain a negotiation and a discussion about how we could be beneficial in terms of not just paying them for the purchase, but other types of support to the school system, the school district. So I don't believe it's something we can't reach agreement on, but at this point, they have not responded to our more recent offer, claiming that they feel that the original price is where it is, which was $700,000. And again, that's just not supported by the two comps that we have, which are very recent. And and anyone that is aware of real estate evaluation, you look at the like kind, the highest and best use. And we have two schools in very similar situations with certain conditions that would bring the price up or down, but give us a very clear idea of what this school could be worth.
With the food hub idea, which I still like, and again, impressed, do you really think that this is the right location? As Ned says, do we have the product around here?
Oh yeah, it's in terms of the western Catskill area versus, let's say, eastern where you've got Route 17 and you're heading over the thruway, there is so much aggregation of producers here versus the other part of the eastern area that it's less efficient to take our product that we create here and bring it over to the east side. So we're locating in an area that already has a very significant capacity to grow food. Number two, we've got the corridor north-south also. That's very, very interesting for us because you have access to the southern tier of New York State as well as your Catskill area itself and the Hudson Valley. And not that we want to distinguish or separate ourselves from the Hudson Valley, but we are a separate region. We really are. One of the shortcomings of the REDC, the Regional Economic Development Councils, when they took Sullivan County and put us into the Hudson Valley, we kind of got lost. You know, and then they took Delaware County and they put it in the southern tier, and they took Greene County and they put it in the Capital District, and now we don't have a Catskill region. You know, we're part of everybody else. So this is trying to refortify what the Catskills is. We're going to aggregate not just from here, but from all over. And again, we're not, you know, state, you know, limiting. You know, if we've got produce coming from Honesdale or right across the border, then let's bring it in. We want it quality, good. We want to support the local farms that are around us. But yes, the question is, we do need to scale up. And part of the problem is what we've seen in this agricultural economy, it's been dwindling. And the amount of land that we've lost in agriculture is not commensurate with how much we're growing in population. It's not like we need that land to build more houses because our population is not increasing as much as we're losing our ag land. So it has to be the economics. It has to be because people aren't making money doing it.
Right.
And when we know people that are willing to pay for it, and there's enough money out there to support our new farms, we're seeing this food hub as being that connective tissue of saying we can aggregate it efficiently, we can bring it all together, and we can get it down to you. Now pay us to do it.
And they will.
Yeah.
I would really appreciate if you guys would present a scoping session before the planning board, because I
Yeah,
think you're
that's
getting
where it
the
should've
cart
went.
ahead of the horse.
Yes.
Okay.
Have you done a traffic study or anything like that?
No. This is preliminary. This is the first time that we
I
presented.
mean, you're talking about tractor trailers coming in with beef. They're gonna be sitting there with idling reefers.
Yeah.
You're gonna have trucks 24 hours a day moving in and out.
Waste, water, all that
You're
stuff.
gonna have-
That should have
you're
been
gonna
put in
double
front
the
of the planning
traffic
board
in
for
the town.
feasibility.
Well, this presentation tonight was to share an idea. And these are exactly the kind of issues that we wanted to hear about. What do you think our next step should be? What are the issues that we should be considering? Of course, a transportation impact analysis would be done. We would not want 24 hours a day. Well, of course, we would think about what's our sewer and water impacts. Do we have enough capacity there? What is it going to do to the other businesses and the homeowners? That, of course, will be covered. Any kind of seeker evaluation, top notch. We will comply with that. But this was, we didn't want to put the cart before the horse there. We wanted to share with you, what do you think about this idea? Do you think this makes sense for this community? Do you think that we have an unrealized asset here that could be used to help support our local farmers and satisfy an unmet demand for $1 billion a year?
Well, I think you're slowly slipping into heavy industrial.
Yeah.
You're not, we don't have any areas in town that we can put heavy industrial.
Well, I mean, again, I'm not as familiar with zoning code here, but this again would be an aggregation site for pickup drop-off and kitchen, in-house kitchen use and an educational component. So again, depending on what the zoning would require, we would comply with whatever needed permits or other types of upgrades or other infrastructure needs.
I think you should really appear with a site plan and an architectural review of the building that this can be done.
We have one of our board members is an architect, and we've got renderings of different ideas and plans. But again, we're not.
I'm talking about structural.
Yeah.
That the floors will hold this weight and all this stuff you're bringing in there.
Until it goes past them, I think, you're definitely putting the cart before the horse, until it goes past them. The planning board has to say on some of these things to keep it in compliance, and to put this presentation is definitely trying to put the cart before the horse. This, you might think it's the ideal place, but when we get done with the review, it might not be the ideal place to do what you're envisioning.
Okay.
But this is for the concept.
I still, for the concept, you're still baiting and switching them.
No, I think it's just a matter of
How are we
presenting the idea,
How
like
are
you
we
said.
gonna get to school?
Yeah, good.
How are we gonna get the school from the school?
To purchase the school, well, the goal would be to apply for certain grants to be matched by other types of
Do you do
foundation.
that too, or?
That's what we'd be working on. We would be submitting a grant application in August.
Now, another question, there would not be a slaughterhouse there, right?
No, the slaughterhouse is in Liberty.
Yeah. Good place for it.
I was gonna say that it might be useful if there's already been a small food hub operation in New York State in a town over there. Find out what zoning they ran up against. How did they fit in the zoning parameters of that town?
Right.
That might be helpful to you.
And it's interesting,
It has to fit.
Yeah, we're taking what we call a learning tour. We're going up to Vermont. Vermont is a state of 635,000 people. They have created some of the strongest food system programs that support all of their farmers in their communities. So we're going to be visiting 2 or 3 food hubs, asking them how they put their plans together, what they did to get approval, what type of services they provide, how did they decide on those services, what kind of infrastructure needs they might need, what kind of adaptive reuse. So we plan to completely learn. As I said before, we're not reinventing the wheel. There's folks that have done this before. And again, we in no way intended to trump any of the standards and review processes of this community. This was to get the idea out, to hear from you. What are these important things we need to think about now? Because we want every I dotted and every T crossed, and we want this to be owned not by any individual. This is a community concept. So maybe it isn't the right idea, but we're not trying to do anything but share what we think is a really great idea, get some feedback, and then let's move ahead and let's look in deeper to it and see if it does work.
Maybe it's reframing kind of the same question in a slightly different light, but what's the experience with food hubs in downtown areas? And I think that might be part of what we're hearing here.
And that's one of the hubs that we're going to be seeing, the Mad River Food Hub in Vermont. It's in a downtown area. They've had some great results. What they have is not just a sort of wholesale opportunity for aggregating food, but retail. So they get people coming in during the day buying their food, for personal use. They have a sandwich shop. It's grown into a marketplace because it had that downtown connection. Again, the zoning town to town is quite different in the same state, let alone another state. So I don't know how applicable it'll be, but it will be definitely worth our while to hear what were the type of issues they had to deal with and the obstacles they came up with and what kind of planning. Maybe there's some really innovative way to deal with the heavy weight of a freezer area. Maybe there's an interesting way to deal with traffic, noise, and timing and location. But again, we're here we want to learn, and we want to hear from you with comments like this. So this is valuable.
See, having grown up in New York City, Fulton Fish Market and Hunts Point were very kind of interesting, exotic concepts until you got close to them. And they were very smelly, stinky, vermin-attracting lights, basically, on the city. And I assume that can be mitigated, but that's kind of a fear when you talk about bringing this to a downtown area. There is garbage, there are other things, there are, those problems that come along with any time food is laid out anywhere.
Right.
And I think that's gonna be a community issue going forward.
Yeah, and that would be part of, there's certain types of standards for maintaining the quality, the freshness, the temperature of the meat. We would, again, expect to have a state-of-the-art standard here, and our goal would be to have a really focused food-based initiative. So we would look to the meat initiative. We don't really want to get involved with produce and other types. Maybe also we bring dairy in, maybe it's a cheese aging. But that's one of the 3 components. The other 2 don't involve directly, the handling of food. One is education and the other is the kitchen, but again, in a very enclosed USDA-approved area. And we were already approved for an RBEG grant from USDA for the kitchen. We qualified for $25,000 to renovate the kitchen. We told them to hold on to that. We weren't ready to use it. We weren't sure exactly what was going on, but they love the idea. They thought it's a great adaptive reuse. So we know we've got some interest in funding, and again, it's building it up. But we do want to make sure that we comply with zoning and that this is a suitable and again, well-received idea in this community. If it's not going to go, because this is a community that should make its own decisions, and that's exactly what the Solution Project's about.
It's an interesting concept. I come from the wastewater, I'm from plumbing. And your pre-treatment
for it, because our wastewater treatment facility here is a very basic system, to say the least. It's very septic system.
Experimental, let's be honest with it. Nobody ever built another one.
So my point is, you would have to have some pre-treatment on site. And with that, in the surrounding area, you're definitely gonna have to aerate, you're gonna have some odor issues. So you really need to look at that.
Okay.
Because that is gonna, you're dealing with food, it's going down the drain, and it's gonna deteriorate it. Your bacteria and stuff's gonna work on it. And you're definitely gonna have some pre-treatment before you discharge a very clean effluent to our wastewater treatment facility. So you need to really look at that issue. I think that will be the issue, other than traffic. And of course, your business plan, and getting this whole thing up and paying for itself.
Right, right.
But you're in a very tight area there, it gets hot in the summer, you're definitely gonna need pre-treatment, so you really, when you tour these other facilities,
Yeah.
see how they deal with that, because that's gonna be a big issue for you.
Yeah, and we talked briefly with DEC, who has green infrastructure grants available for stormwater, wastewater, and that type of stuff. So they said this could fit quite well, into your planning. Keep us posted. Again, it's all, at what time do you approach, but that's definitely something for us to look at, what others have done, and then if we have an idea, see what DEC might help us out with in terms of funding.
Yeah, I'm getting memories of Stoneman's Market.
Is that right?
Stoneman's Market in Monticello.
Was that over by the church?
Yeah.
Ed, just a question, wouldn't you say that, this facility, what you've described right now, Kevin's not here from the zoning board, but it is zoned correctly as a commercial use, am I correct?
It's downtown business.
Downtown business, which is commercial, right?
It's commercial, but it's not heavy industrial, and it's.
It would have to go before your board for a special use?
Yes.
Right.
Downtown business is office space and antique stores and.
Right, but
2 or 3 other things.
But I think what Jennifer was sketching out is a concept right now. Certainly 3 years ago or 4 years ago, when Mr. Kang came before and had a couple of meetings, I think he wanted to put a Sheraton conference center and hotel at that school. So I don't see, and some of the people didn't receive him that well, or didn't give him a Narrowsburg welcome when he came before his meetings. So I think that we should just keep an open mind regarding your concept.
Yeah, but there's a big difference, Tony, between a hotel and a food processing plant.
Big difference.
There's no aroma comes out of a hotel other than good stuff, food and cocktails and.
That comes from the food hub.
Yeah, but this could generate, I don't know, I really don't know, I've never been near one.
Well, our intention is not to process food. The commercial kitchen will be a place where food is cooked.
Yeah, but
And that would be
all
our.
the vegetables are gonna come in here and be washed and cleaned and packaged. and
No,
all this.
no, this is gonna be an aging facility for meat.
Oh, it's not, it has nothing to do with produce?
We're not thinking of bringing produce in, because the Ginsburg IDA is gonna be focusing more on produce.
So you're gonna be basically a meat packing plant?
An aging facility.
That's a
It's a
thin line.
butchering plant, you're gonna have problems.
We're not gonna be
rendering and everything
butchering,
else.
but again, the thought is, let's tweak this, let's see what the ideas are. There's 5 slaughterhouses that don't have room to age their meat. The meat has to hang, sometimes it's 3 months or 6 months or 12 months. It's cold storage, it's freezer, it's infrastructure. So the meat comes in already cut, whether it's custom cut, whether it's a carcass, and then it gets picked up by the meat distributors and brought somewhere else. So we won't have a butcher on site, we're not gonna have any animals processed there, and we don't expect to have much fresh produce, because again, we think we already have that capacity going on the other side of the county. So we don't wanna reinvent that wheel, and to be frank, we don't really produce that much produce. We're pasture-raised livestock and perennial crops. That's what the Catskills is about. That's what we can do here. So we're not here to grow vegetables year-round. We grow meat year-round. So we want to keep this business year-round. So we're trying to fit into what we've got, a facility where we could age meat for a long while because no one else can do it.
So it's meat and cheese, and that would be and in this picture, is there also the potential for renting space out? You started to say that.
Exactly.
If, let's say, for argument's sake, Eagle Fest has not had a home for a while, is that something that could be
Definitely.
rented a space?
Definitely.
Or if there needed to be a senior center or something like that, so that there might be additional income coming in?
Exactly. We thought a daycare facility, a farm daycare. You've got a bumper crop and you've got to get out there, or we have a playground and you've got a computer lab. It could be an after-school spot for kids when they come out of school and they don't wanna go right home, it's a homework lab. I mean, it could be a whole bunch of things.
Could you arrange like
gonna
a
be a
field trip
parking
so
lot.
that you could get people to go and see typical facilities for aging meat? So that there's an understanding of what it's
Exactly,
like?
that's the Mad River Food Hub specializes in that, so we're, yeah.
I mean, but maybe something a little closer that some of the.
So people can visit, yeah, even up at Cornell, yeah, I can look into that. I mean, and as this develops, we'll have a much, sort of detailed proposal and examples of what's already out there. So, we could take site visits and we could do, different types of, sort of visioning and scoping as soon as we get a bit more detail. This was just a preliminary presentation of saying this is an idea, this is an interesting trend, this is an opportunity for us to consider seriously because we've got all that natural assets, we've got this facility, and we've got a really great location, and it just seems to be the right time. So we wanted to share the idea, get feedback, and this has all been valuable. And we hope to join you again at a more detailed discussion.
No, you've done the town, it's your time to make a presentation, you've been very forthcoming. This is maybe a naive question. Nothing's gonna get done until you purchase this from the school. Okay, that's basically the sticking point right now.
Right.
And maybe I'm being naive, but it seems like a few years ago, maybe the economy was better before the recession. Why is it that the Dancing Cat Saloon, for instance, my understanding, out in Bethel had gotten something like $350,000 as a federal farm grant for that.
Right.
And now they've got a distillery out there, which is right near Bethel Woods, right on 17B. And my understanding, if I go back to reading that article, really didn't cost them that much, that they had a fair amount of subsidies and grants. So is it because money is dried up that you can't get those grants to consummate that deal? Or is it basically the sticking point is that the school district is still very stuck at $700,000 and they don't want to negotiate down?
It's a combination of both, but more the latter, that we're dealing with, this expectation of value, which with anyone, whether you're selling your own home, or a business, or you're representing a group of people with a jointly held asset, there's an inflated expectation of value. And we just, fortunately, again, we have two comps, so we really do know what that value is, which helps us in our grant application really prove that we need X amount of dollars to buy this property and to do some infrastructure improvement. But again, we want to make sure that this is what the town wants, and that this is welcomed, and that this fits here for the community. So, again, it's not just buying it, which, honestly, we could probably go out and raise some money to buy it. We've just got to make sure, what are we going to do with it once we buy it? So that's why it's all this kind of juggling of planning all these different levels of understanding and getting detail as we grow. So everything's at a very preliminary level, whether it's talking to investors or grant supporters, whether it's potential tenants or users, and then again with you as this community, as the municipal leaders. We want to make sure that as we grow this idea, we're growing it together.
And would it help your cause that you had the endorsement of the town?
Very much so.
You've got the endorsement of SUNY Sullivan. You've got the endorsement of the legislature, is that correct?
Correct.
The Sullivan County Legislature. That's right,
Correct.
Cindy?
Listening to this, it doesn't sound like it fits into our town.
Why not?
Why not?
We're too small for that. We're too small. We could never have that amount of trucks and coming into this community.
Well,
We're limited for space right there.
it's interesting because of the processing. Let's just say we're talking about the meat coming in. The processing entities will aggregate the meat and bring it down in bulk truckloads. So we're not going to have individual farmers bringing their meat. It's the processor who will aggregate it. So you're right. There has to be an analysis of how many trucks are coming in.
It's another thing. I thought we were talking vegetables too. I mean, that was a big item. Now it's just meat.
Well, again, we're trying to fine tune what is the missing link. And if we already have a food hub that just got approval for produce, do we really need to recreate that here?
You know, you talk meat, you got problems with meat. You got lots of problems with meat. I think we're too small. Vegetables, I could see people local people could grow vegetables, they could bring it here. We have an organic farm over there, he could bring his vegetables. That's a nice, clean product. That's a clean product, vegetables.
Well, there's a lot of actually very significant general ag practices. GAP requires certain type of handling and washing and segregation and packaging. That's a much bigger type of operation.
First of all, I don't think we could handle the trucking. We're too small, there's no parking. A lot of people would be, we have one little street, we have School Street. That's about it. We don't really
Bernie,
have,
let me just,
you're gonna have tractor trailers, reefer trucks coming in. They're
Bernie, can
gonna
I
be
just
parked here, they're gonna
interject
be
here?
running all night sometimes.
we had, when we were a school district, we had over 360 some odd kids here in the school being fed every single day. They were fed breakfast and lunch. So we had reefer trucks coming in, we have an outdoor freezer over there that they had installed,
That's
I think after the merger.
not, this is a
So
small
there were a lot
scale.
of trucks coming in and out of there
This isn't
And
like,
school
that's
buses.
to
gonna
feed
be
the
a
children and
huge
the school
scale.
buses every day, twice a day. And yeah, so I mean, it's not uncommon. We haven't seen our truck traffic or bus traffic in several years now since the school's closed. I think the other thing that's probably not on your side is the timing, because the building's cold now.
Yeah.
And I think the school district really needs to start taking stock of what that building's really actually worth and where it's gonna go in just a couple of short years.
Right,
Because
right.
it's cold.
Right, right.
That's not gonna last forever. And as that school remains a cold building, that, in my opinion, is devalued at an increased rate of loss. And I think the school needs to take stock of that and think about not just the school district overall, which they do have to financially think about the school district overall, but this is our community. And they took this away from our community as a school district, and I think it's time that they put stock in that and say, you know what? We need to help a community.
Right, and we think.
And we
that
need to
this
be
is-
reasonable,
Right.
because I mean, to keep the price to where it's absolutely gonna be worth nothing, if they don't sell the building in, say, 5 years, what are we gonna have? We're gonna tear it down.
We're not talking about the Chicago stock market, stockyards here. I mean,
Right.
There will be no live animals here. Nothing live.
And even if there were live animals, how many, you're not talking about this convoy of truck after truck after truck unloading and unloading. The school has a limited amount of storage capacity, so
Yeah.
have you done any guesstimates of how many trucks you're actually talking about?
No, that is something, again, talking with regional access, who I mentioned goes back to Ithaca and then down. I wanna see what they would come down with, instead of going back to Ithaca, if they're supporting our Catskill farmers, because they're picking up from them. So how many trucks would that mean? Maybe they've got 5 trucks in a week, maybe it's 1 truck a day. That's the kind of next step we'll take. We just didn't want to dive too deep until we really got a sense that this is what the community would be interested in
The other point that Bernie was
exploring.
making about the problems with meat and contamination and tainting and all this other stuff, the kind of operation you're talking about is the whole food type of thing. That move to like animal welfare standards, that they're raised on pasture, they're not pumped full of these antibiotics, they're not kept, knee deep in their own feces while they're on these feedlots. That, a lot of those problems with the meat comes from the way the animals are handled, and this kind of an operation
Exactly.
wouldn't be dealing with that.
Exactly. It's a different quality of meat.
We're gonna need to cut off the discussion here, because we do have an agenda to move on, but, 2 last quick things, Susan and
Only thing I was gonna say is, I think everybody's raised a really important issue, which is scale. You can't present something that's too big for what we have here. And if you can't do with what we have within its parameters of zoning and roads and everything else, and still make a profit, then it wouldn't work.
Right, and that's
So-
exactly, we're only working with the parameters of the school as it is, with internal infrastructure if we need, the current road system, the current bays. So, yeah, it's gonna fit into, this is a community scale level.
I would love to see what the people in Vermont are doing.
Yeah.
If they have this in a downtown area, because I've never seen an ugly downtown in Vermont. So
Yeah.
I would just really love to see how they did that.
There's a great book called The Town That Food Saved. I don't know if anyone's read that. It's really incredible, and it talks about Hardwick, Vermont, which is where we're spending 40 hours. Talks about different components, a seed store, a dairy farmer, a cheese maker, a wine shop, a restaurant, a compost facility, a wastewater treatment operator, all how they all came together and created this resiliency in their local economy, and they're doing amazingly well. So we're gonna learn from others, really.
As long as there is going to be cooperation and leadership from the top down, because from the top down, if there isn't solid leadership from the top down, like a fish, it stinks from the head down. And so as long as there is good, basic understanding throughout, through education and dotting all, crossing all, and everything else, I think it's a very good idea, because it does need a niche. We had fruit and vegetable farmers market, small albeit, that did not succeed because there was another one in Callicoon that was much larger. So I think your concept about something that there isn't anywhere,
Right.
whether it's cheeses or because people are more into whatever, I think that that's a good idea, as long as it's done within the proportions that we have, without overloading our sewers and infrastructure and everything else. And I think that your presentation was wonderful. It needs to continue that way with more information, so it answers the questions that we have. I personally think something like that, whatever it's worth, it's a great idea. But you have to have good leadership, you have to have working together leadership, not bickering kinds of things, and lots of answers from the places you're going. And it seems that you are doing that. I look forward to hearing I think all of us really look forward to seeing when you come back.
Okay,
Jennifer,
good.
thank you very much.
Good,
for
thank
your
you very
presentation.
much, I appreciate your time, thank
Okay, thank you very much. And moving on in our agenda, we're going to go to old business, disposal of the fire truck update. I think we did discuss this, but it was at the last meeting of the organization, not everybody was here. Sold for $2,851. Working on a bill of sale for that. That should go out hopefully tomorrow. And I have a packet of information as well that we can mail.
You have the VIN number on it?
VIN number?
VIN?
Did we get the VIN number on it?
I gave her the VIN number, it's the same as on that card.
Did we get an address?
No.
Okay, oh, I asked Karen to look on the electric bill.
And
Okay.
last thing, that has to be notarized, right, that bill of sale?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Great.
Yep, yep. So, it's actually, I don't know if I did give you guys this, I asked the guy what he used it for, this is a matter of curiosity. He actually lives in an area that doesn't have very good fire protection, and they've had a lot of the fires in Florida there. He lives in the state of Florida. He's gonna have it as his own personal fire truck for his property,
You gotta love that.
so.
That makes sense.
Send in a hauler to pick it up. Number 8, the 14-acre parcel purchase through town body discussion. Do we want to have this discussion now, or do we want to go?
Let's hold off.
Let's
Yeah.
table this.
I think we.
Fair enough.
It's late.
Thank you very kindly.
That'll be a long discussion.
Do we need a motion? I move we table.
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Discussion on contract with the Deer Park Humane Society. They've agreed to extend us a contract until July of 2014 with an open option to extend. Cost of half a year is $850.
And what do we get for that company?
I sent you the contract. Yeah.
Okay, just real quick.
We don't get fined from the state very shortly.
Yeah.
That's
the most.
That's our basic.
Oh,
Yeah.
how many dogs
Saving
is that? Is
grace.
that like 5 dogs a month or something? Or
Do they pick the dogs up?
No, we have to.
No, we would take the dogs there, and any veterinary cost would be
Listen,
ours.
it gets us out from being nailed by Ags and markets. I'm in favor of it. Because their sense of humor, from what Joyce told me, has gone with us.
They're not
Yeah.
feeling the love, huh?
No, she's
No,
getting
they're
real
not.
pressure from her superiors to fine us and fine us substantially.
Oh, boy.
So this is a stopgap measure until we get built, and
Just, any,
I'll make the motion.
can I have a second?
I'll second that.
Any other discussion?
just give me some parameters of what that 850 covers us, just some.
It's a place to store our dogs.
Like, will there be an extra charge if we have 5 dogs versus 3 dogs or
No,
anything?
we're not
Carol?
gonna have that many dogs anyway. I mean,
No.
the cost per dog really is absolutely incredulous, because we only have a couple dogs a year.
Oh, okay,
But, yeah,
okay.
no.
All right, I
it's-
just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, no, it's not
Okay.
gonna, yeah,
All right.
yeah.
I didn't know.
That's why we're gonna go look at other towns, see if
So we're just
any other
paying
towns
the
are interested in the
lesser
kennel.
of
Okay.
Right?
We're just paying the lesser of 2 evils.
Exactly. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That's to go with the contract. I don't think I had that. I had that in the-
Well,
Oh, you know what? Yeah, never mind. Scratch that resolution. Well, that's in the, consent agenda, I'm sorry, yeah. Changing the lighting from the T12, T8 discussion, I had some discussion with, a friend of mine who does this quite a bit, and, one of the ways that I think I could save some money and get the project underway and complete without costing us astronomical electrical bills are to have our in-house staff take out the bulbs, remove the old ballast, install the new ballast, less the wiring. Because the only thing you need an electrician for is that wiring. So if we can hire an electrician just to come in and do that wiring part, and then have our guys close up after them, we could probably have this whole place done in like a day. To just, if you get moving and you take them out, and then have the electrician come in behind you, and then our in-house guys go back behind them,
you
closing
get
it up.
somebody pulling the sign off on it, I don't have a problem with it.
Who's the
Yeah.
in-house guy, Carol?
Uh-huh,
Who's the in-house guy? Glenn's
yeah,
guy?
yeah.
We ain't got nothing to do.
Yeah.
We need something to do.
All right, you're hired.
Like 2 to 3 hours. 2
to 3 in the morning
So that's just an update on that.
All right, that sounds good.
Cable franchise update, I'm still waiting for the gentleman from Time Warner to contact me back as to where we are with those extra channels. I just emailed them again this past week, I've not yet received an update from him. Letter to DPW, parking on Bridge Street, any discussion on that? Everybody good with that?
Yep.
That's what, second draft, right? James, second draft, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
You just shortened it, that's all.
I
It's like-
shortened
Yeah.
it, yeah, because I hate to
And
read
then
more than
it's on
one
the
page.
consent as well.
It's fine.
Nice
Nice job, both of you. Thank you.
New business, open the sewer bids.
Yeah, we're just doing it.
I didn't know you were
Well,
bitching.
no,
I
no,
would've
no,
said
no,
something. I'm just kidding.
All right, okay, we have one from M&S Sanitary Sewage Disposal.
I'll take the second.
They're doing it currently, I believe.
Huh?
Take the second of the moment.
We're waiting all night for this.
Drum roll,
Does it
please.
count?
Sure.
There you go, sir. And then the other one is from Cobra Line Environmental Services.
What are they per gallon?
17 cents a gallon.
17?
That's currently what we're paying right
Yeah,
now.
that's good.
I could have told you.
They go right the same, or just under.
$0.17 a gallon.
Okay.
Stick with the existing.
Yeah, as I say, we're currently using M&S. I have no complaints, no problems. They're great to work with.
And they're nice guys, I know them.
So,
And both are non-collusion certificates and one that were
Yes.
included?
yeah, everything's there, so.
Okay.
I'd say that we stick with M&S.
That's your
I'll make the
recommendation.
motion.
I'll second
Okay.
it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You got that, Nicole? That was kinda quick.
Almost. I think I got it, okay, we're good.
Okay,
New truck
17
discussion.
cents a gallon. New truck, we took care of. Solar energy for the town of Tusten discussion.
Let's do it. I mean, the thing
Sneeze.
is
So
that,
bad.
I mean, Brandy and Star, is Star still here or is she gone? She left? Thank you again. And the discussion seems to be option A or option B, or whether the town wants to start
My
using.
brothers, they attended the meeting as well yesterday, and from everything I've read in the past, all the information the Energy Committee has garnered for us and whatnot, my recommendation would be to go to the PPA.
I would agree with that.
It just makes sense. It's way too much outlay for the town initially to own it ourselves, then we'd have to either hire somebody, train somebody, or outsource, your maintenance on it.
But I don't think, Carol, there's still two questions. Where are you gonna put it? That's the biggest
Right.
question,
Yeah.
right? And it's gotta be within 2 miles of the town. So until we have that, how can we possibly move forward?
Well, we have land at the highway. We gotta get together with Ken
Right.
and Glenn and sit down and
And look at
discuss that.
water.
And we'll look at the water
Right.
as well.
Once you have that, Carol, I think you can't really do anything until you have that, and then they say this is an approved
Yeah.
site, it'll work, you're not gonna have the shading.
Right, I think we just need a flavor from the board of which way we wanna lean.
Yeah.
Oh, that's easy,
I
that's
mean-
simple
Definitely
math there.
contract it out,
Yeah.
let them do it, because the way technology changes, now this
Yeah.
call could be outdated in 7 years.
Exactly.
That's, then
Especially
the
with Wes.
contractor's problem.
Wes's thoughts there on,
Yeah, he hit it right on the head,
Yeah,
And they should be American-made.
yes.
yeah, that should be in the
in the spec.
Right,
specs.
for the
Yeah.
question of quality
And the
alone.
RFP put US-made, because it's still coming in from China, though, it doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
it's not gonna last.
I think it definitely has the favor of the board. I can't
Yeah.
imagine it would.
And make sure it's not Solyndra.
So the board is in
They're not
favor of
around
pursuing
anymore.
I know.
solar power.
Yes.
So,
How much millions did
At
it
no
go? 600
cost.
million?
yeah,
Is it?
Essentially.
no upfront cost, right?
Well, I guess the first step really besides finding is to
NYSEG.
say, NYSEG can fill it out.
Right,
As soon as I know, I can email the board and let you know how to go forward, but it really
Yeah.
kind of depends on them.
right.
Those,
And Ken, how much property do we have
the
out there?
NYSERDA specs. 6 emails.
6 acres?
NYSERDA
Specs around for the dog shelter.
Problem is that you're on the back side of that
So
hill.
I'm starting to draw up plans.
You might have to clear a lot of trees and stuff, you know?
Where are we talking now?
You're the next
You're
one.
right. Yeah, I know, I know. For a small fee.
400 square feet.
Where are you talking about?
Up highway,
Highway.
yeah. So, do you think there's
Oh,
enough
hell, you'd be
open land
sunbathing
back
up
there?
there.
You guys will have to come up and look at it.
Yeah.
Now, that again, that would be for a company who's gonna spec us
I
out
mean-
too. We're not going into this for,
If we're coming down here and replacing lights and digging up drains around the building and all, we don't need a highway department anyway, so just a place to store machinery. So take it over. Go for it.
Well, you also had down on the flats there also, that was a good
Uh-huh.
idea.
I don't think they would do it on the flats
Was it a shading?
because of the equipment they gotta sit in there too.
But
Just
look
like-
at the water district, I'm telling you, they have a big
Can't be what?
place.
Yeah, but
they use that.
right, can't be in the flood zone.
I was just gonna say
Not
that.
Yeah,
that
that,
one.
yeah,
I'm
well
talking
two
about
is the flood zone.
It's in
Yeah,
floodplain.
but you have all trees, that's what they were saying before, you have all
Wasn't
trees
when
up
I
there.
was there.
We get a lot of sun up there on top of the hill.
I'll rent you
Yeah.
space on the
Oh, yeah, I
arena.
can see by your complexion.
Can you cut down some trees, I'm just curious?
No, that's nasty.
If need be, can you cut trees?
Yeah, we gotta check the map up there, cause there may be a lot right in the middle of everything you see up there that the town doesn't own.
Okay,
Yeah, you gotta go over your deed.
well, yeah, that's, we gotta go over that, so to find out where our biggest plat of land is that it could be situated on,
Yeah.
so.
Say between
It's ours
half
now.
an acre and 2 acres tops.
And actually, I think it would work out up there because with the acreage that you need for it, if you kept it on the 97 side of the lot, the rest of it's open anyway because that's where for our storage and all, and that's where you're also getting your sun
Right,
from
yeah,
that
that's true.
side.
Yeah.
So if everything was kept on the 97 side down through there, I think it would work out. I don't see a problem.
Angle, that's all.
Randy, let me ask you a question. Would it assist the Energy Committee that if we did, it seems like from listening to the other colleagues on the board, that everybody is in agreement to lease solar, right? Am I right?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so we're still waiting for NYSEG, right? But my question is, since we're not gonna meet for another month, okay, would it help the Energy Committee and also the town by making a resolution tonight that yes, the town is in favor of solar leasing? Because once you get that green light from NYSEG, the RFP still has to be created. And if we don't make a resolution tonight, there's no need to do the RFP, so we've wasted a month until we
Right.
meet back in February. So, by basically making the resolution, and we're on the record that we are in favor of solar leasing, right? Okay, and let's say you get a call from NYSEG in 2 days, then you guys can start with Stephen Stewart,
Right,
the RFP
Go right
between
into the
now
RFP.
and the next time we meet.
Yeah.
So I would like to make a motion that the town is in favor of solar, and specifically leasing, like you had described option B, and put that on the floor.
I'll second that.
And for the energy committee to go out with a, to bring us
Do a
back
site
an
survey.
RFP.
Absolutely.
And a site survey.
Site survey.
Right,
Absolutely.
Site
Site survey.
survey for the, just, yeah, if we can just get the,
So-
well,
Can you be clear where you wanna have, I mean, it's definitely up at the town barn property, or is there another spot we should be looking?
Town barn, I'd say.
Town barn.
But if
I think that's the only spot we have.
But if that's 2.2 miles, they might not want that.
right, but if it's too far,
2.2 miles, I don't think that it's a major problem.
Right.
Remember, the substation came in, involved.
Right.
It's very important that there's a nice substation, which is
Substation.
close to
Right
the
there.
field.
Okay.
I mean, that's,
That's.
Yeah, it's
Right.
contiguous.
so
okay.
can I make that motion?
Motion, I will second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Excellent,
Thank you.
thank you.
Good job.
Okay, public comment.
Brandy, if you would, send me your email on that when you
Right.
do the board, because I want to talk to them about, like,
The whole board is in quarantine.
Yeah, very well.
Where do we stand on zoning? Where are we, how far along are we? Are we ever gonna get any?
I've asked Bill Palmer and Carol Coney to get back to me. I've not yet got an answer from them. We're supposed to have another meeting to finalize the, what we're doing on the zoning rewrite,
Seems
and
to
then
be
we can
taking
adopt.
a long,
Yes, it is.
arduous time. Has he been paid?
Yes.
He's been paid already, but it's not complete.
We were waiting on the county and whatnot for the 239 review and whatnot like that to come back. So now we just have to finalize the committee's work and bring it to the board.
Are we almost there?
Yes,
So we should have something by next meeting, hopefully.
I'm hoping.
Good.
We'll have something,
Something.
yeah. So, anyway, Jan,
I just want to say, as far as leasing solar versus buying solar, I did quite a long, exhaustive research. Even went and took an installer's course to find out that it would cost me more to install because I wouldn't qualify for the benefits at being a homeowner. And I do have solar panels on my house, and I did go with leasing them. One of the things that I got with the company I went with was a performance guarantee. They monitor my solar panels so that they can monitor their efficiency. If there's something that goes wrong, they know something's wrong, they come and fix it. And it is part of leasing is if a kid hits a home run and it goes through a solar panel, they come and fix it. You know, if a snowstorm comes and breaks a wire. So I felt like, and plus I'm paying under $30 a month for 20 years. It's cheaper than computer, cheaper than TV, cheaper than my cell phone. It's kind of a no-brainer. They did a wonderful job, and I'm real happy with it. So hope this town can put in a big system. It'd be great.
we'll lease us some space.
You're welcome.
anybody else? Thank you. Okay, can I have a motion
Carol?
to,
Is that 2.2 miles straight, or is that on the road?
Not sure.
not sure.
Because if you
Yeah,
go
it's
from
a crow
here,
flies, yeah,
Probably be transmission lines.
that's the
It'll
way
be
you have to
shorter.
go.
right, right. Okay, can I have a motion to accept the motions on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second, please.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Board comment, Ed?
Yeah, Carol, did you get that email? I'm just
I
going
did,
into
I
my
got
site.
it after I was all done, and we'll put it on the agenda for
Okay,
next month.
all right, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine, that's all.
Do you wanna write out the resolution and send it to me?
That's pretty much it.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, because that's why I tried to write it like that, so you could just kind
Okay.
of read it verbatim. And we're not interfering with the hiring process for any of the departments.
Right, yeah. But, yeah, I'll put it on the agenda. Does anybody have any, did everybody get that email? No?
I sent it to everybody.
When?
It was this afternoon, yeah, like when I got back, I was at 5
All right, if
o'clock.
there's a lot of objection to what Ned said, just send me an email and
That was a 3-month, right?
otherwise I'll include it in the
Yeah.
consent agenda.
I think that's fair.
Yeah,
Tony,
nothing for me.
for myself, I just appreciate everybody's patience tonight. I know it was a very long meeting, and I appreciate all the presentations we had. And kudos to our energy committee, they've done an outstanding job. And, That's about it. Okay.
I want to thank Dominic. Dominic, now that I'm on the Water and Sewer Committee, I asked Dominic for a tour, and I had a 2-hour tour of our entire water and sewer system and learned a lot, and I'd just like to publicly thank him for giving me that time. It was good. And also, I wanted to thank the Energy Committee, but they're gone. And I wondered if the Facilities Committee could come up with a timeline after a bit, if you, so that we just know when we're budgeting,
How
we
much,
just
yeah.
pull it out
Right.
and say,
Yeah, we definitely have to
there's
go over how much it's
Yeah.
gonna totally
Yeah.
cost,
Right.
about.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
okay, that's all I have.
Yeah.
North?
She pretty well said, I mean, everything's going forth, we'll get everything done with Wes on board, it's gonna make things a lot easier. That was probably the best move we made, was bringing him out, so everybody's fumbling one way or another.
Yeah, I
We
agree.
have a centralized point, a centralized reference.
I would agree.
Carol, one last thing. Rita McCready passed away this week, a week ago
Yes.
Monday?
Oh,
A
I
week
did
ago
not know
today,
that.
actually at 8:30 tonight, a week ago, she passed away. So she served on both the zoning and planning boards, so can
I'm
we?
not sure she was on the planning board.
Okay.
She was on zoning for a long time.
She was
Yes.
on zoning for a very long time,
Yeah.
yep.
Can we have a resolution next meeting for her family, please?
Yeah, Judy, could you do the resolution? Just, you need to look into the records and find out how long she served for, and there's other model resolutions that we've done. I'll have some printed up in front for the family. And, yeah, I was not aware of that, I'm very sorry to hear that.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
tragic. Yeah, really, really not a good thing.
I'll say it, motion to adjourn.
I'll second that. I heard
All
you.
in favor?
Aye. I want to,
Everybody be careful on the way home because the temperature's gonna be dropping and everything's wet.